Welcome to the regular meeting of the Half Moon Bay City Council for Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. Councilmember Brownstone will attend this meeting remotely from Via di Pancola, 116 Greve and Chianti, Firenze, which is also Florence. Welcome, Robert. Thank you for participating. As a reminder, if you're joining this meeting via Zoom, you can still make public comment. During any public comment portions, attendees may use the raise your hand feature and will be called upon and unmuted when it is their turn to speak. If joining by phone, use *9 to raise your hand, *6 to mute and unmute. We also have Spanish interpretation services available in person and via Zoom. On Point Language Solutions is in the back left corner of the room if anybody needs assistance with interpretation services. On Point will now provide information on how to receive these interpretation services if you need them. Looks like we have Nicholas tonight explaining this. Welcome, Nicholas.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity. Honorable City Council members and all city staff and members of the public. Miembros del público, las instrucciones para participar en la reunión de hoy se pueden encontrar en el orden del día que ya está publicado y tienen copias en inglés allí, pero tienen el orden del día. Estas instrucciones también dan información de cómo presentar un comentario, tanto por escrito como por Zoom. A los miembros del público también se les proporcionará interpretación en vivo de toda esta reunión en español. Para acceder al servicio de interpretación en vivo por Zoom, ya sea por una computadora o una
Is that it, Nicholas? Okay, please do.
Okay. Thank you. Para acceder al servicio de interpretación en vivo por Zoom, ya sea con una computadora o una portátil, haga clic en el icono del globo terráqueo, es decir, el mundo, en la barra inferior de su pantalla y seleccione el idioma español. Si usted está usando un teléfono inteligente o una tableta, busque el menú de 3 puntos, seleccione interpretación, luego seleccione el idioma español y por último haga clic en Done o Listo. Y los que están presentes tenemos audífonos para recibir la interpretación en español en vivo. Thank you.
Gracias, Nicholas. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Nagengast.
Here.
Vice Mayor Penrose.
Here.
Mayor Ruddick.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. All rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all.
Just a reminder that because we have one council member participating remotely, that Councilmember Brownstone will need to leave his video on, and all votes will be by roll call. Thank you. So the next item is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brownstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penrose.
Yes.
Mayor Ruddick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So we're moving on to item 3, which is proclamations and presentations. And we have one proclamation and one presentation this evening. And the proclamation, item 3A, is May Mental Health Awareness Month proclamation. And my understanding is that we have someone here this evening to accept that. Who would that be? Oh, sorry. Okay, I see. Emma Ta, a member of Alcove Youth Advisory Group. Wonderful. So I'm going to talk about this item. So since 1949, May has traditionally been recognized across the United States as Mental Health Awareness Month. For 2026, the theme is Mental Health is Ours, emphasizing community, collective action, and holistic support. While mental health affects people of all ages and demographics, it is notable that most mental health challenges begin before the age of 25. With more than a quarter of San Mateo County residents being under that age, mental health is not only a present-day concern, but a responsibility for future generations. Mental health must be treated as a foundational public good, not merely a clinical concern. So it is our pleasure to present this proclamation to Half Moon Bay Alcove, an under-development, youth-friendly, integrated mental health drop-in center, which will be housed at 255 Main Street. The center will include free or low-cost mental health, physical health, substance abuse, supported education and employment, peer support, and family support services, as well as linkage to other services. The project is youth-led, supported by Coast Pride, and funded through a grant from California's Mental Health Services Oversight and Accountability Commission. The hope is for the center to open this summer. I'd like to share just a few statements from the proclamation. Whereas the Half Moon Bay City Council wishes to increase the public's knowledge of signs and symptoms of mental health and substance abuse conditions, professional and self-help resources, and self-care practices. Now, therefore, be it known that I, Mayor Debbie Ruddick, along with my fellow council members, recognize the month of May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month to expand awareness of youth mental health issues. It is my pleasure to welcome Emma Ta, a member of the Alcove Youth Advisory Group, to come to the podium to share a few words and accept this proclamation. Would you like to speak first, Emma? And then I'll come over and present you with this proclamation.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, city managers, staff, and residents of Half Moon Bay. I am Emma Guinyata, and I use pronouns she, her. I'm here representing Alcove Half Moon Bay. The San Mateo County Behavioral Health Commission is committed to the goals of promoting wellness, recovery, enhancing public awareness and knowledge of mental health and substance use condition, eliminating stigma. Thank you, City of Half Moon Bay, for proclaiming May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental Health Awareness Month is observed across San Mateo County, California, and United States. Lime green is the national color for Mental Health Awareness Month, and it represents how we want to bring a bright light to important issues that may have been hidden or seen negatively. As someone who has struggled with mental health a majority of my life, May is an especially important time for us, as awareness is necessary to bring change. That's all. Thank you. Yes. You can join our newsletter. Sure. Oh, do I open this? Or? You can just hold it up. Okay. Sorry, I'm really nervous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would any of the council members like to comment on that recent item?
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing, and I'm really looking forward to having the center open, as I think a lot of people are. So congratulations.
A great addition to our service community. Yeah,
And I concur with what Vice Mayor Penrose said. I think it's a great to have the center open, and it'd be wonderful for the residents.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on that item? If so, you can come to the podium. If not, we will move on to the next, actually a presentation, item 3B, from Peninsula Clean Energy, also known going forward as Westlight Energy. And we have Mark here tonight to make the presentation.
Thank you, Madam
Welcome.
Mayor and council members. Delighted to be here this evening in Half Moon Bay to present to you and to the community some exciting information about Peninsula Clean Energy, what we're doing in Half Moon Bay throughout the peninsula, and some changes that are about to happen. And I'm in charge of the slides. Huh? There we go. So just to level set a little, I know the council members are familiar with what we do, but there may be some who are watching for the first time. We procure the energy for about 97% of the accounts in the peninsula, meaning San Mateo County. We also expanded our territory to the city of Los Baños in Merced County about 5 years ago, and so they all receive the same energy. But it continues to be delivered to your home on poles and wires supported by Pacific Gas and Electric. Am I not being heard? All right. How's that? Is that better? So we procure the energy, but it continues to arrive in your business, in your home, on poles and wires supported by Pacific Gas and Electric. And then you get a bill from Pacific Gas and Electric, but we have a line item on that bill. You'll note if you're a Peninsula Clean Energy ratepayer that you pay your generation charge to Peninsula Clean Energy. Well, that won't be the case beginning in about 2-3 months, and that's the news I'm here to share. If we could go to the next slide. So generation to delivery to savings. I'll talk about the savings in just a moment here. There have been savings in the 10 years now that Peninsula Clean Energy has provided service to Half Moon Bay. Half Moon Bay residents have saved a lot of money. I'll get to that in the next slide. But the entirety of Peninsula Clean Energy service territory has seen over $230 million in bill savings as compared to Pacific Gas and Electric over those 10 years. Currently, we're at about a 10% discount from PG&E, but that fluctuates depending upon the market, and our rates will again be adjusted on July 1, and want to recognize Councilmember Johnson, who's our board member and has a say in that. We are a locally based organization made up of all 20 cities in San Mateo County, plus Los Baños and the county of San Mateo. And Councilmember Nagengast is the alternate on the board, but Councilmember Johnson never misses a meeting, so he's not had too many opportunities to participate. But appreciate the service and support, and I know Harvey Rarbach is a former board member, and while I'm at it, Rick Bonilla from San Mateo was a founding board member from San Mateo, and Naomi Patridge was on the city council when we came to the council for a vote 10 years ago, and unanimously supported by Half Moon Bay and San Mateo County for the founding of the organization. So in addition to lower cost, we have provided clean energy. Most of the energy we provide currently is solar and wind. We have a significant amount of large hydro electric generation. We have a little bit of geothermal, provides some baseline support, but we're striving to become 100% renewable. California doesn't consider large hydro to be renewable, so we're working on that, and we have a goal of 2030 that we're striving towards. And we also provide support for our constituent organizations and communities. And so through our programs department, we have helped with solar at City Hall and the Sheriff's Substation in Half Moon Bay. And that was an investment of about $660,000. But over the course of the 20 years of the solar, you will see savings, significant savings, more than 6 figures, and we will recoup the cost because you'll be paying us for the energy instead of paying for it off the grid. We've also helped with the placement of 15 EV chargers throughout the city. so accustomed to saying next slide. So I teased it a little bit, but over the 10 years in Half Moon Bay, ratepayers have realized $2.7 million in savings, and that equates to roughly 7 free days of electricity every year that we've been in service for the generation costs. We've also invested $936,000 in Half Moon Bay, and that's through many of our different programs. We provide help with people who wish to purchase electric appliances, so a heat pump water heater, a heat pump HVAC unit, an electric vehicle, and we also have a program by which you can get a $10,000 interest-free loan payable over 5 years. The payments show up on your bill, and that's how you pay us back, but you can invest that in support for your home electrification. And so next slide. But things have changed in the 10 years since we were first formed. We were created to be the electricity provider and to provide cleaner energy, but we've been responsive to the requests and the needs of the community, and so while affordability is still first and foremost, there's also an interest on the parts of the cities for climate action plans. We provide support for that. Some cities look at other aspects of the code. We provide technical assistance for that, or for electrification projects. If you want to install something in your home, we have a phone number, and I encourage residents to give us a call, and we can help. And we have sort of a soup to nuts. If you're a do-it-yourselfer, great. We'll help direct you towards certain contractors or others products that you might want. But if you want more assistance than that, we're there to help you with that too. So appreciate people calling. And then what's ahead? The next year or so is going to be fun for us in that, and fun for Half Moon Bay. We have $155,000 in a member agency grant that the city has received, and I understand that's being used for different municipal electrification projects. Half Moon Bay also applied for and received a grant of $41,000 for building electrification of municipal facilities, and we are supporting some EV fleet charging with the city, and appreciate that. Also, we're in development with the city on a potential battery backup of the system at City Hall, knowing that resiliency on the coast side is a particular issue. To look forward to the year ahead, we are planning to roll out a battery and storage program for income-qualified individuals, and we held our very first community feedback forum here in Half Moon Bay about 2 months ago. Very well attended, and appreciate the mayor and council members being there, and a good attendance by all, and resilience and responding to disaster was, I know, top of mind, and so this program is one of the outcomes of those discussions. We're moving forward with the solar and storage program. We've also partnered with a number of coast-side organizations to help get the word out on the services we provide and to answer questions, and that includes the being available at the Coastside Farmers Market and working with them, Senior Coastsiders, and El Concilio, and that's a picture from the first feedback forum. But the news is that in just a couple of months, the name of Peninsula Clean Energy is going to be changed to Westlight Energy. And the reason for that is many, one of which you may have run across, and that is that PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy, the acronym is very similar to PG and E, and a lot of confusion is created. We have people calling us up and calling us Pacific Clean Energy or PC and E. In addition to which, as I mentioned, our service has expanded to Los Baños, so we're no longer just on the peninsula. We have ratepayers in the Central Valley, and we're excited to include them. And Peninsula Clean Energy is a little bit clunky, and for instance, not too many people, I think, refer to it as the San Mateo County Transit District. They say I'm getting on a Samtrans bus. That's how it works. So to be appropriate and easier to remember, and to create some excitement, we're going to be Westlight Energy, but that is on your agenda this evening because all of our jurisdictions need to ratify the decision made by the Board of Directors at our October board meeting to accept the amendment to the JPA so that all the contracts align. And so that's on your consent calendar. And then hopefully after you've taken that action, we look forward to working with the city and your terrific staff to get the message out, because people will see the name on their bill and maybe not have heard what's happening and say, I didn't pay for this Westlight, and call City Hall or want some information. And so we would appreciate working with you to get the word out to your constituents and to the community that this change is taking place. Same great service, same employees, everything else is the same, except we are moving our office to San Mateo from Redwood City, but otherwise everything's the same, just the name has changed. And we have adopted a new slogan at our most recent board meeting, Power with Purpose is how we're going to be known. And a few other exciting events. We're going to have a policy forum September 30th, and invitations forthcoming once the details are nailed down. And there will be other activities to celebrate the new name and our 10th anniversary, and including a housewarming. And so we hope you can join us when we move into our new quarters. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Any comments or questions from council members?
I just want to say thanks, Mark, because every time I go to that meeting, you learn a lot and about solar and the batteries, and you guys are just on top of it. And I've learned a lot, and I've switched to my solar, and my PG&E bill now is like $6 to $8 right now, and then I guess I pay it up in October. And even though you guys aren't really truly involved with it, I can ask your staff, and very knowledgeable people. And then don't forget about the e-bikes that are available. Then the latest thing with how many apartments you guys got? You got e-charging, I think. How many total was that?
I don't want to give you the wrong number, but it's thousands.
It was
and
thousands.
We're adding them all the time. We cut the ribbon on a, thank you for raising that. If you don't mind, I'm going to interject. We are focused on multi-unit developments. So if there's an apartment owner or somebody who wants to electrify, we look to put a charger at every space in the apartment complex at level 1 generation. It is less expensive, it's less taxing on the grid, and we can do them a whole lot cheaper than the level 2 and level 3 chargers that you see in a commercial lot. And so thank you so much for bringing that up. It's been incredibly successful, and really working closely with the realtors, San Mateo County Association of Realtors and others, to get these installed. And in July, and I don't know the date exactly yet, we're going to cut the ribbon on the biggest ribbon for over 200 chargers will be installed in a apartment complex in South City. So love to do the same here. So please, if there's somebody who would like to see that in their facility, please reach out to us.
One last thing, Mark. There was one thing that I thought was pretty interesting at the last meeting. I think Tiger brought it up, who was the mayor for Pacifica. He's a renter, and he wanted to utilize some of the features that you guys offer. So even though you're renting a house, you guys will back up and talk to the tenants and actually support, so that the renter can take advantage of some of the products. So I thought that was a cool, thing that you're involving that.
Yeah, and thank you for that too. If you have ideas, the community feedback forum was one time where we were here to ask questions, but would love to hear from you, because that's how our programs get started. That's really the evolution that I was mentioning, is people come to us with ideas, thoughts, this works, or we need this help, and we put our elbows to the grindstone and see what we can come up with. And so appreciate it, and so appreciate Director Johnson's support of what we're doing.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, do you have brochures that could be handed out to residents?
For the new Westlight? So,
Well, for the fact that renters can do EV charging, I mean, I like that idea a lot.
oh, okay. So let me go back a couple of slides here. And typically what we do is we work through our partners in the community. So here, Senior Coastsiders, El Concilio, and Coastside Farmers Markets are the places where we would have that. So I'm happy to talk to our community relations department and see what we can do to get some brochures at certainly at the Coastside Market.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks again. Is there any, if there's anybody who would like to comment on this item, please come to the podium. Looks like Harvey Rarbach would like to comment.
I put in a slip on the consent item, but instead I would just love to second and third what Patrick said about the PCE board or the Westlight board. Of all the boards and commissions that I went to when I was on the council, by far the most engaging, smartest, environmentally concerned people were the board of directors of PCE. I learned so much. I was impressed. As you just heard all the things they do. Not only do they charge less than PG&E for electrical generation, but they have all these wonderful community programs that a lot of people don't know about. As a matter of fact, I'm constantly amazed by how few people know that they get their power from PCE, soon to be Westlight. They think that PG&E is the provider of that power, and it's just a shame that we don't get the word out better, because it's a wonderful organization, and I heartily recommend that we do everything we can to support them. They're really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Anybody else in the room? Anybody online? You can raise your hand. Seeing none, we will move on to the next item. Mayor's announcements of community activities and community service. Just a reminder that Saturday, May 9th, is the Half Moon Bay Wine and Jazz Festival, which will take place on Main Street and also portions of Kelly Avenue. It'll run from 12 to 5. There's a lot of great musicians playing, so come on down. You can still buy tickets online. That's all I have this evening. Item 5, do we have any report outs from recent closed session meetings?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This evening, the council met in closed session on 2 items. There's no reportable action from those items.
Thank you. The next item, item 6, is commission and committee updates. The city manager will update us on the recent Parks and Recreation Commission meeting.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the Recreation Commission meeting last Wednesday, and it was a great meeting. And just a couple of items of note. They talked about our beach volleyball courts, which will be going up at Poplar Beach very soon. Notable is for the last several years since we launched this program, they've been installed at the very north end of Poplar Beach, closer to Kelly State Beach. And the feedback has been that it's been a little hard to access. And so for the first time, we're going to be opening them closer to the vertical access at the end of Poplar Street, so it'll be a little bit easier for people to access. There'll be 4 rentable courts that will also be used for tournaments and clubs and those types of things, and 2 additional courts that are just first come, first serve drop-in. So 6 courts available all summer long for people to come and enjoy beach volleyball at Poplar Beach. So want to make sure people know about that. We talked about Carter Park and the fee schedule, which is on the agenda later tonight. It will allow us to set fair rates for the use of Carter Park going forward. And an update on the Summer's End Music Festival, which will be hosted at Carter Park this September. And the commission also talked about their priorities. So it was a good meeting, covered a lot of ground. The next meeting is Wednesday, May 27th at 6 p.m. at the library, and you can also join via Zoom. So hopefully people are aware and want to join. So thank you.
Good news about volleyball.
Yes, we're very excited to have that coming up.
Anybody here like to comment on that item, either here or online? Seeing none, we'll move to item 7, which is city manager updates to council. And we have 2, one on Main Street Bridge update and the South Corridor study update.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Council members. My name is Todd Seeley. I am the interim Public Works Director, and I have a couple updates for you guys this evening. The first update is about the Main Street Bridge. Obviously, we have all seen the condition of the stucco work on the Main Street Bridge, and we are going to be starting on that soon. Due to the historic nature of the bridge, we've been planning this project for some time. The historic nature of the bridge kind of made us pause and take a step back and reevaluate what we're doing. So it did take us a little longer to develop and get something going than we expected. We landed with ARG Conservation Services to kind of help do some consulting work on it, and they ended up getting awarded the contract due to their expertise. They've done all kinds of historical renovations, a bunch of missions in California. They've done some renovation work at Stanford and just a bunch of sites through buildings in San Francisco, just to name a few of some of the historical buildings that they've worked on. So we're excited to have them on board. They did come out and take some material samples about a week ago. They're kind of formulating the exact mix that they're going to be using to redo the stucco work. So that's going on currently while we're speaking. And then phase 1, which is the masonry restoration and repairs, is going to begin on Monday, May 18th. The project is scheduled for 4 weeks. The reason that we're coming to you now is to kind of let you guys know and also the community know that there are going to be some pretty significant traffic impacts as a result of this project. Single lane closure traffic control will be in place for the first 2 weeks of the project, so the week of May 18th and the week of May 25th, which is Memorial Day, so a short week that week. But those 2 weeks, there will be some pretty significant traffic impacts along the Main Street corridor in that area. Our reasoning for starting earlier rather than later was we wanted to get ahead of the last week of school. We figure we can get the crews out of the roadway for the last week of school. We expect that to be busy, graduations and the whole 9 yards going on, so we wanted to get out of the roadway. And if we pushed it any later, we may not have been able to finish by 4th of July, which brings a huge influx of visitors into town. So we feel that starting on the 18th is in everyone's best interest. Roads will be restricted for the first 2 weeks of the project, roughly from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. We want to allow folks as much time to get their children to and from school and not disrupt traffic in that morning commute as much as possible. The next week of the project, the next 2 weeks of the project, pedestrian traffic will be restricted just on the walkway side. That we'll have detours in place for stuff like that. We are noticing the community through e-news. We've let the Chamber of Commerce know as well so they can get that information out to the businesses. And we are very excited to get this project started. Before we get to the next update, are there any questions about this from council?
Councilmember Nagengast.
Well, it's great to see something proceeding, and I can appreciate the historical nature of the bridge, right? This is the first reinforced concrete bridge in San Mateo County.
In San Mateo County, it's actually one of the first steel reinforced concrete bridges in the country. So
we'll go with that. I'm just going by the plaque that go out there, but
it's not the first in the country. It's one of the first in the country. Records probably weren't as great as they were back in 1900 when they built it, but yes, it's definitely one of the first in the country.
And in case the community is wondering the historical significance, and that's why the bridge is still standing and not knocked down to something more modern. That was a period, I know this town had a lot of discussion about that, whether that bridge should stay and we repair it or a new one. Also, if the idea is to have this ready as much as we can post Memorial Day, kind of a kickoff of summer. Is that what we're trying to do?
The stucco part, yes, absolutely. We'll be bringing an item to the council later, and we'll discuss it later this evening as part of the CIP discussion, is how we address the woodwork portion of the bridge. That's been identified as phase 2 of the project. We're looking to figure out a way to get some funding. We're a little short, and we'd like to get that done as soon as possible as well, too.
When you say the deck portion, that's where the pedestrians,
yes, sir. So phase 2 would address that, so the decking and also the railing. Most of the railing doesn't meet ADA requirements, so we need to bring that up to modern specifications as well. So that would be phase 2 of the project. We're hopeful that we do actually own a majority of the wood needed to do this work. It's been stockpiled at the courtyard for a few months now. We don't expect a lot of material costs associated with the project for phase 2, but we do expect some labor costs associated with phase 2 of the project.
Will a detour be set up? So will people know not to make if they choose not to make a left on Main Street, coming westbound on 92, or?
The way that we're envisioning it is that we're going to have flaggers on either side of the bridge, and that's how we're going to do it. It's not the ideal setup, but we could look at possibly noticing people coming off of 92.
Maybe just monitor, and then
Yeah.
if you need to, maybe implement something if necessary. But
Maybe we could bring in a changeable message sign, especially after the last 2 days. I mean, we're all aware of, there's been some work on 92 that's kind of impacted traffic for the last couple days, and they had the same essentially traffic control in place that we're proposing for this project. So we definitely will be monitoring, and we do have a couple of changeable message signs at our disposal.
I would suggest maybe make sure you monitor and then implement something if necessary.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Todd, has the downtown merchants everybody been known about this and told about it, or is this just they're going to go off of Instagram and the e-news and all this stuff?
I spoke with Abby this morning. Crystalline wasn't in the office at the chamber, but I did let the chamber know, and they said that they would pass the information along to the business owners. So that's kind of the outreach that we've done on the public works side to get a hold of the business community.
I think if we can, we use that message sign that we have that's done on 92 during that time, and make sure that we're directing traffic to how to get to Main Street, alternative routes. Because I think we don't want to lose people coming to downtown and spending money, and we don't want them to get frustrated, so it has to be very clear on how to get to our downtown. That's my main concern. And then on the railings, are you talking about the railings as you're grabbing on the left side as you're walking, those 4x4 pressure-treated posts?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the council? I'm going to move on to the second item, and then we'll ask for public comment on both afterwards. So.
The second item is me, so here I am back again. The second item is the Highway 1 Access and Mobility Study. The Highway 1 Mobility and Access Study is currently underway. Staff has been working with some consultants to kind of do the initial push on this project. We are going to be moving forward and having a bunch of community and stakeholder events over the next couple days. So community participation and input is pretty vital to ensure future projects are developed with the input from these local stakeholders. It's a wide-ranging study that seeks to develop improvements for all types of transportation along the South Corridor. Basically, the scope of what we're looking at is from 92 down to Miramontes Point Road along the Highway 1 corridor for all types of transportation, walking, biking, driving, and as well as public transportation. Staff wants to encourage the community to attend an in-person engagement event if at all possible. They are spread out over the next 3 days, like I mentioned, May 6th, 7th, and 8th. And also the Bike and Ped Advisory Committee will be holding a joint meeting with the consultant on Wednesday, May 7th at 6 p.m. located at the EOC, which is, for those of you that don't know, it's right next door to this building that we're in right now. And here are some dates and times for the meeting. The main meeting that's open to the public is going to be a public meeting that's going to be held tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the library. There's a couple of studio sessions that are going to be open to everyone tomorrow from 3 to 7. There will be some studio sessions available, and a couple on May 7th and May 8th, and those will both be located at the EOC, both from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And is there any questions about anything?
I'll just add, Todd, if I might. If you go to our website, halfmoonbay.gov, there's a rotating banner. When you go there, the first thing you're going to see is this. If you want to click on it, all the details are there for those that didn't catch it tonight.
Any questions from council members? Comments? Any comments on either the Main Street Bridge update or the South Corridor workshops item? You can come to the podium now or raise your hand online to comment or ask questions. Seeing none, I think that item is, Vice Mayor has a question.
Yeah, when do you expect phase 2 to start?
Of the Main Street Bridge?
Yes.
Oh, that is a funding dependent question. So if we were provided funding, there's no reason that we couldn't be done by Pumpkin Fest. It's really just a funding issue at that point. We just don't have the money to do it right now. We do have a majority of the wood, like I mentioned. So, I mean, I think there's almost $40,000 worth of lumber for the project sitting at our corporation yard being stockpiled right now. We probably have another I forget the exact number, but we do need to buy a little more lumber to address the railing issues. But realistically, there's no reason that we couldn't be done by Pumpkin Fest with all of that.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you so much.
All right, so the next item, item 8, is public forum. Anyone present at the meeting, either in person or online, you can speak on a non-agendized item, so you want to talk about things that are not on the subsequent agenda. And speakers at public forum will get 3 minutes to make their comment. And I need to see how many speakers we have. Okay. So we will begin. That's 3 minutes. Raise your hand online if you would like to comment as well. The first speaker is Stacy McCarthy. Yep.
Terrible with microphones. Let's see. Does that work? Okay? Yes, good. Good evening. Good evening, City Council. Good evening, City Management. Good evening, neighbors in our community. Good evening, Mayor. My name is Stacy McCarthy. I live here in Half Moon Bay. I'm here tonight to ask one question. Do you remember the travesty that occurred in our community over 3 years ago? Let me help. It was January 23rd, 2023. My son was in preschool a quarter mile away from one of the farms where the shootings occurred. My husband was stationed in the driveway, unarmed, in the hopes of protecting all the kids in the school. I could have lost them both, I remember. The shooter tried to turn himself in at my office building. I was there. I can't forget. But far, far worse than my personal experience was the loss of life and what we learned of the deplorable conditions that our farm workers were living in. No walls, tin roofs, no plumbing, sleeping on the ground. It's something that once I see, I cannot forget. I wonder if you did. I wonder. And how, if that's possible. Please let me know. There are things I'd like to forget and too many things I do forget. Why is another question. I guess I'm asking more than one. Is it because it's okay to turn our backs on our neighbors? Or is it at the behest of property owners in our fair city? Or is it because you can wield your will or power over our disenfranchised neighbors? I don't know if we'll ever know the answers to these questions. But I am here tonight to remember, to remind you that I am not alone. There are many, many neighbors here who stand with me tonight to implore you to move forward. I don't want to raise our son in a community that turns its back on our neighbors. I want us to remember our history. And I was a student who didn't like history. I didn't want to study history. But I am imploring you to move forward with the occupancy of the homes in Stone Pine that have been built, and 555 Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Joaquin Jimenez, followed by Naomi Patridge.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, city staff, members of the public. My name is Joaquin Jimenez, resident of Half Moon Bay for almost 40 years. Thank you, Stacy. I don't know if you had the opportunity to have any conversations with the farm workers on the day of the shooting. I did. They shared with me what they saw. They shared with me what they did. They saw the first person getting shot on the chest, close range, twice. One while the person was standing, the second time when he was on the ground. Walked to the next person and shot him again. Some of the survivors, when they saw the shooting happening, some of them actually went inside the porta potties. That remind you of anything? Other ones, the doors did not lock. They had to tie a rope to the door to keep the shooter from coming inside their house. How about if you had a conversation with a person that was standing right next to the other person that was shot? Farm workers, the ones that have given their life for this community, the ones we appreciated, we loved during the pandemic. We call them essential workers. They were not farm workers anymore. They were essential workers. You forgot about them. They're the ones that created the economy here on the coast. We have farmers. How many farmers do actually work? The farm workers are the ones that live in their lives on the fields. January 23rd, I got one of the first calls. There was a shooting on 92 at one of the local farms. I called the first number, denies, nobody answered. The second number, somebody answered, and they said, yes, it happened here. Three people have been shot. Don't forget that. Happened in Half Moon Bay. It happened to farm workers. Please don't forget that, because I don't. We won. And this went around the world. This was not just San Mateo County. This was not the United States. It went around the world. How the farm workers were in their living conditions. It's been going on for decades. I have a video of how they were living down south in San Mateo County. Wars in a tool shed. Thank you.
The next speaker is Naomi Patridge, followed by Emma Ta.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the public. My name is Naomi Patridge. I've lived here for 86 years, and I reside at 487 Laurel Avenue, Half Moon Bay. I'm here tonight to thank the City Council, but especially Councilmember Nagangas and Mayor Ruddick for making sure that the city is protected financially and legally with the agreement with Mercy Housing. Their questions and concerns were spot on. I observed the meeting online last Tuesday night. I was shocked at the questions and things that were being asked, but I thought the council did a great job in protecting the city. So personally, I want to thank you. I know how much time it takes to be reviewing all those documents. I sat in your seat before, and thank you once again for your dedication.
Thank you, Naomi. The next speaker is Emma Ta.
And Madam Mayor, if I might remind the public that this is the time for general public comment for items that are not on the agenda.
Yes.
The 555 Kelly item is on the agenda and will be discussed later.
Thank you for that.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and city manager, staff, and residents of Half Moon Bay.
Excuse me, Emma, could you get closer to the mic?
Hello, my name is Emma Gunyata, and I'm an 18-year-old at Half Moon Bay High School. In the last year, I've attempted suicide 3 times. Junior year, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. It's been a heavy toll on both myself and my family. 20% of high school students seriously consider attempting suicide, and 9% attempt suicide according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. To myself, this number is far too high. To do something about this statistic, I have decided to join Alcove. Alcove, or what Alcove will become, is a mental health third place, which will become a safe space in Half Moon Bay for youth to receive support. Due to Half Moon Bay's location, a lot of mental health resources are limited. This means the mental health of youth goes unchecked. This leads to feelings of isolation and increases the loneliness epidemic. Alcove will be here to change that by creating a place for the youth of Half Moon Bay to be able to find resources they need. Alcove is a meant to be a warm de-escalation center. No white walls, no fluorescent lights like acute facilities. The youth of the coast side are also welcome to just come out and hang out. We have many fun activities planned.
Thank you, Emma. Is there anyone online who would like to comment during public forum? You can raise your hand now. I don't see anyone. Okay, we're going to close public forum, and we're going to move to the consent calendar. Are there any items that council members wish to pull?
Yes, I'd like to pull 9E.
9E, okay. I would like to pull item 9H, which is the agreement with Mays Associates. Anybody else? Okay, could somebody make a motion on the remaining items of the consent calendar?
Or we vote on the remaining items?
I'm sorry?
We should take public comment on the items before we vote?
Yes, and I will read what those items are, too. So the items on consent, minus the items that have been pulled, are items 9A, waive reading of ordinances and resolutions. Item 9B, approve the minutes of April 21st, 2026 special meeting. Item 9C, approve the minutes of the April 21st, 2026 regular meeting. Item 9D, approve minutes of the April 28th, 2026 special meeting. Item 9F, approval of a memorandum of agreement for the San Mateo County Regional EV Charging Project. Item 9G, 2026 Half Moon Bay Sanitary Sewer Management Plan update. Item 9J, approval of the administrative amendment to paragraph 2.2 of the Peninsula Clean Energy Joint Powers Agreement and other conforming edits throughout the agreement to reflect the name change of Peninsula Clean Energy to Westlight Energy. And item 9J, approve the updated mayor's list of updated city council representatives and designated assignments for 2026. So the motion to approve would be for items 9A, 9B, 9C, 9D, 9F, 9G, and, let's see, 9J, no, excuse me, 9I and 9J.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to comment on the consent items just identified? You can come to the podium now or raise your hand online. Seeing none in the room, I don't see any online either. Okay. Could I have a roll call vote on those items?
Councilmember Brownstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penrose?
Yes.
Mayor Ruddick?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. So we will take item, 9E. For discussion, adoption of an ordinance repealing Municipal Code Chapter 6.04, residential rental registration, and Chapter 6.06, residential rent stabilization, and amending Section 6.02.020, definitions, to remove terms relating to residential rental registration and stabilization programs. And this is the second reading of that ordinance. Vice Mayor?
Yes, this is a very sad day for me and for many people in our community. I was quite moved by the two speakers who spoke tonight about the horrific shooting incident January 23rd, and reminded of the tour that I took of the housing conditions that the farm workers were living in, and how appalling and how shocking it really was. But even more shocking was the fact that I was unaware of it, that I knew nothing about a huge segment of our population who goes out and works every day and who lives in such horrendous conditions. It also reminded me that as a council, we were very responsive, as we had been, to those who are poorer in our community and less advantaged. And we had a history in our council of trying to be progressive and trying to help, not to remedy everything, but to do as much as we could to represent those who are less fortunate than we are. So with the repealing of some of those measures which were so forward-looking and which cost the city nothing and did no harm, but were looked on as social work that some on our council didn't approve of, I'm saddened. I'd also like a roll call vote on this measure.
Well, since we've opened up the item, I'll take any public comment from the room or online. So come to the podium if you want to speak and you're here on this particular item. It looks like we have a couple of people, so you'll have to get in line. And then we'll take any raised hands from the audience.
Hal Wagner. I've lived in town since '92. I'm a lifelong renter, and I believe there are things that the city can be doing to help people who are renters who have difficulties of various types. And I would be very happy to participate in workshops or discussions directly to identify some of the things I can imagine would be helpful. I appreciate that the housing rules are such that nobody was inspecting the county properties on which the abhorrent conditions led to the shooting. They're horrible. The county health needs to be involved. I believe that helping renters to deal with evictions at the county courthouse is a place where people can be assisted. It may well be that subsidies and work with the local nonprofits to be able to administer assisting people in need are all possibilities that the city can help to encourage and support. So I do believe that there are things to be done. As a lifelong renter, I was opposed to rent control because I've seen the negative effects that rent control has, not just on landlords, but on tenants, because a number of landlords in this city, in the face of the rent control rules, and in the face already of the fact that there are state laws and there is county enforcement at the courts, sold their homes to people because they didn't want to conform, and those homes either went off the rental market or were repriced at higher rentals. So, you know, it's not an easy thing. Rent control itself directly doesn't work, but there are things that the city can and should be doing, and I would support figuring out those things and doing them. And thank you, those who tried to solve it this way. I know that your hearts are in the right place. Thank you.
Respond to that.
We're going to take public comment first. Joaquin Jimenez.
Thank you. When we approve rent control in the protection plan, the rental registration, we approved it with the condition that it was going to be temporary. We talked about that. With the condition that we were going to provide housing, affordable housing for the community. Once the city of Half Moon Bay have provided affordable housing, low-income housing for community, we will reconsider to terminate rent control. That was the whole idea. And we failed. We failed as a city. We were very progressive, thinking about the people that were struggling, that are still struggling right now. Not serving no special interests. Life changes. We deal with changes every day. But we forget about the ones that struggle. You are forgetting about the people that struggle. And it's going to continue. Because I'm going to tell you something. I don't think Half Moon Bay is going to be able to build the 480 units that is required by the state. I don't think we're going to do it. And we're going to get a fine. The state is going to come in, just like I told you, eminent domain properties in Half Moon Bay to build. And when that happens, some of us are going to be very happy because we failed. We failed to do housing. We failed to protect the people that need us. We failed to protect the vulnerable people. Rent control. It had a sunset. To revisit once we offer housing. Really simple. Right? Because you don't care. Because you have a place to go to, comfortable. You don't care about the people that struggle. And you know they're struggling. Because they tell you, you see them all the time. Where's progress? Think about it. Because you could be next. You could be next.
I don't see anybody else in the room. Oh, maybe one more. Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Joanne Rakowski. I really wasn't prepared to speak to this, but because it's been opened up, I'll make just a brief comment. I was one of those who stood before you begging you to continue the rent stabilization and registration programs. Nothing in my own belief system about that has changed. I would just like to emphasize a couple of things. First of all, people really are struggling. I have heard the stories of people who one family lives maybe with 5 people in one room because they have to cobble together 3 families to pay the $3,000 plus rent for a 1-bedroom apartment. Nobody was asking for the moon. They were asking for a limit. And there were recommendations to change the limit to align with the state law, which would have increased the limit. I understand that. So now we're in a situation in Half Moon Bay in which the recourse is not nearly as described. If somebody needs to get to court to try to protest an unfair rent increase, they have to be able to get to court, to hire the help of an attorney or other legal advocate, and they have to actually have the time to get there on top of what may be a many-hour-long work. And for some of them, they may not speak the language. For others, many others, what has happened is that people who have been priced out of homes and apartments have ended up in RVs. And now that's another problem considered by the city to be discussed at another time. But why are they there? For some of them, it's because they can't afford the rent. I want to reiterate what Joaquin said about, I remember from the outset when Mayor Ruddock, mayor at the time, I believe, maybe council member, I don't know, and excuse me, I was Penrose, I'm sorry. When Deborah Penrose said, this does not have to be permanent, this is a solution until there is adequate housing. There is not yet adequate housing. Therefore, I come to the conclusion that it was needed, and I'm really, really saddened that it has been removed. Thank you.
Yeah, pull that mic down. Speak right into it.
Soy Carolina Carvajal.
I'm Carolina Carvajal.
Soy una persona latina.
I am a Latina person.
Y solo quiero decirles que los latinos nunca iremos a a buscar justicia ante un juez.
And I just want to tell you that as Latinos are never going to go seek for justice before a judge.
No tenemos la economía necesaria ni el tiempo.
We don't have the necessary economy or the time.
Aclarando eso, me parece tan triste
Making that clear, I think it is so sad
que ha pasado tanto tiempo y todavía no hay vivienda accesible.
that so much time has gone by and there is no accessible housing yet.
Y como se ve la situación, tardará mucho tiempo.
And for the way things are looking, we think it's going to take a long time.
Y ahora nos quitaron el control de la renta.
And now you're also taking away the rent control.
Entonces, clarificando,
So clarifying,
no tenemos vivienda accesible y no hay control de la renta.
we don't have accessible housing or rent control.
Ahora, ¿qué es lo que proponen para soportarnos a nosotros?
Now, what are you guys proposing in order to support us?
¿Cómo nos ayudarán a nosotros, a las personas que vivimos hacinadas?
How will you be helping us, the people who need it most?
Esa es mi pregunta para esta noche.
That is my question for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Rocío Ávila.
Good evening. My name is Rocío Ávila.
Y yo solamente quiero hablarles y decirle a las personas aquí presentes y que nos escuchan
And I just want to talk to you guys and the people who are here and the ones who are listening
que cuando tengan un problema sobre control de renta, vayan al concilio con las personas que necesitan escuchar las necesidades que ustedes y nosotros tenemos.
that when you have a problem with rent control, you need to go before the council and talk to them because they need to hear the problems we're having.
Porque hay muchas necesidades y hay muchas injusticias que suben la renta y no podemos hacer nada. Y ustedes son las personas que tienen que parar esto. Vamos a seguir en la lucha del control de renta.
Because there is a lot of need and a lot of things that we cannot do, but you guys are the ones who can help us. So we're going to continue fighting for the rent control.
Good evening, Council. My name is Alex Ontiveros. I am an award-winning documentarian. My team and I produced a documentary called Campesinos, America's Unsung Heroes. Campesinos is the word for a farm worker. We had the pleasure of filming a lot of that here in Half Moon Bay, the farm workers here in Half Moon Bay. That documentary won many awards. We did not produce that film or that documentary to win awards. We just wanted to tell the story of our farm workers. We wanted to pay tribute to their contributions. Based on the awards and the attention that it got, we also were invited to present it at different places, tech companies like NVIDIA, Adobe, LinkedIn, and others. We were also invited to present it to legislators, by legislators at the state capitol. And then we were also invited by congressional members to present it at the nation's capital to other congressional members. That's probably the proudest work that I've ever done in my career, because we were there representing the stories of these hardworking individuals. And I feel that we live in one of the wealthiest parts in the world, not only just in this country, but in the nation and beyond. And it is baffling to know that we have homeless issues and so much injustices that should be and can be remedied. This affordable housing project is a no-brainer, I think, for most of us, with all the resources, with state funding, with federal funding, with all the funding that has been secured. It should be an automatic, right? There's some ideals that come to mind that are very optimistic, that state the home of the brave, the land of the free, and justice for all. And I'm optimistic that this community of Half Moon Bay doesn't just see those as sound bites or marketing and branding. I'm optimistic that Half Moon Bay is a community that will do the right thing as it relates to this project. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Belinda.
Just a reminder that this is a rent control item. All right?
When
We're
I'm talking
speaking to
about
the
rent
item.
control.
Okay.
I was here the night that you voted to end rent control, and it's been a really sad time for the community when they really understood what was happening. And I guess my question that I have as a social worker and has worked for years in the community is, why are we going backwards? Like, we're in 2026, and we were going forward with so much momentum. I remember when I first started working with City Manager Matthew Chittister, one of the things that he emphasized so much years ago is, how do we become one community? One community. That was the mission, and I think many of you had that at the time. But it feels like this is punishment for a hard-working community that gives back every day in the way that they, their work, they're pillars of this community. Children, just like yours and mine, that deserve a home. It's having mental health effects. It's having physical effects. The stress and anxiety that we're seeing. And my question is, are we trying to drive out our workers here? Are we trying to drive out a segment of our community? Because we're not giving other options either. What are the options here? We're ending rent control. We haven't met our affordable standard housing quota. We don't have other options. The only thing I can conclude is it's becoming a divided community. It's becoming a community that's getting pushed out. And it's a community in pain right now. I get to see, as a social worker, the homes. We have children that are not able to crawl, physically delayed development because they're forced to live in one room where there's a bed, a dresser, a chair, and no space to crawl. They're having to come to alas to crawl in our spaces, literally to crawl. That's the real story of what's happening in our community when we don't create thriving housing opportunities and when we don't care to protect the rental, economic situation of those. And like Carolina said, they're not going to go to court. I've seen so many injustices, and guess what? They're never going to win these cases. They're never going to win. The system is stacked up against them, and that is what we're counting on you all to do, the right thing. And restoring rent control is something we need to do, or at least finding alternatives to say we're going to make a better life for the community that serves everybody here and the children that they have. It's the right thing to do. As Matthew said, we were one community. I hope we can get back to that again.
Good evening, Council. Jordan Grimes. I'm a member of Peninsula for Everyone. We're a regional housing advocacy organization. I think you're making a tremendous mistake. And this is an area where I think in a few years you're really going to see the impact, probably sooner than that, actually, on the most vulnerable members of this community. I know that this is an incredibly divisive issue, but you have to think about Half Moon Bay's housing market as it currently stands. You have had on the books for several decades now an anti-growth measure that has essentially meant that the city has built very little new housing since the late 1990s. And what that means for renters in the market in Half Moon Bay is that landlords basically have unfettered control over what they can charge, because you can't just go to another property. You can't just find another unit. Because there aren't. If you look at the vacancy rate in the city right now, it is astronomically low. And you need to do something about that, frankly, and obviously there's another item on the agenda tonight where you have the opportunity to do that. But in the meantime, you have people who are really, really suffering. And rent control and rent stabilization are and should be seen as consumer protections. You have many consumers in the audience tonight who are affected by these things very personally. And it is, I think, just a shame that the council is backtracking on this so quickly. I would also say in terms of the rental registry, I think regardless of your feelings on rent control, reneging on the rental registry itself is an even bigger mistake. Good data is the cornerstone of good policy. And without knowing exactly what's happening in the rental market in terms of rent increases, evictions, vacancies, et cetera, you are flying blind. And so I think regardless of everything else, that is something that should be reconsidered in the nearer term rather than longer term. I hope, these predictions don't come true. I hope that things are easier for the renters of Half Moon Bay in the future, but I don't see that happening without some major policy changes.
Good evening. My name is Loriana Saja-Diaz, and with all due respect, council members, I first want to congratulate your staff. I think you've got a wonderful staff sitting at City Hall. Many times I wonder how there's this huge disparity between the staff that represents you 9 to 5 and then everyone else behind the computers that I'm looking at. When I look at your indifference at every meeting, the lack of connection you want to make with your constituents is disappointing. I wonder, when you sit through these long, you can't like it because I know no one else on this side likes it either. When you're here for hours on end listening to people, do you think about that at night? I don't think so. And I think that when you're an elected official, you owe yourself to everyone who's sitting here. Look at everyone. Take time from scribbling on a paper that you're doing. Stop that and look at this room. Look at the people that you pay Monday through Friday to give their face for what this city's about. I think that there's a bigger problem with a lot of our elected officials, not just you all here who are sitting here. After 20 years in the banking industry, I decided I needed to give back and to find a real calling. And when I look at you, without saying that you guys are old, without discriminating, I have to assume that you two are sitting there because you want to do something more. So last year, myself, as a part of a group, visited the Vatican. And I had the opportunity to meet His Holiness, Pope Leo. And I'm sure that everyone here in front of me and behind me has a faith, whether that's my God, a different God. We all have some faith that we look to every night. So I implore you to ask yourself, do you have an indifference? I'm going to read to you a part of what the Pope read to me and to, 100 and plus other selected people. And I want you to really take this away. This isn't me. This is coming from the Pope, and I'm sure you might have heard it before. One of the obstacles that often arises when dealing with difficulties, rent control, affordable housing, he didn't say that, I'm adding that, of such great magnitude is an attitude of indifference on the part of both institutions and individuals. The previous Pope, Pope Francis, called it globalization of indifference, where we become used to the sufferings of others without trying to alleviate them. This can lead to what Pope has previously referred to as a globalization of powerlessness, in which we risk becoming immobile, silent, and sad, thinking that nothing can be done when we are faced with innocent suffering. You have the power.
Excuse me, but your time is up.
Okay, can I finish? It's really quick.
really quick.
Okay, thank you. Just as Pope Francis spoke of the culture of encounter as the antidote for globalization of indifference, we must work to confront the globalization of powerlessness by fostering a culture of reconciliation. In this particular way of encountering others, we meet one another for healing our wounds, forgiving each other for the evil we have done, and also what we have not done, but whose effects we bear.
Thank you.
It requires patience, a willingness to listen, the ability to identify with pain of others, and the recognition that we have the same dreams and the same hopes. Thank you.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I'm a mother of 3. I'm happy to say they're all in university. One of them is graduating this year in computer science, and he would love to live in Half Moon Bay. I looked at apartments.com. 2-bedroom apartment, $3,835 a month. 1-bedroom, $3,000 a month. Studio, $4,469. 2 bedrooms, $3,350. 1 bedroom, $3,200. $3,200, if we're using the be responsible with your finances and your housing should be a third of your income, means you need to be making a minimum of $115,000 a year. That's out of the range for most people coming out of college and a lot of the hardworking people in our community. That's all.
Hello, my name is Citlali Huerta, and I've been a member of this community my whole life, so 30 years. I am a youth mentor. And this rent control situation does not just affect our farm workers, but people like myself, right? And I know there's been mention multiple times, right, of you guys protecting our city. Then do that. And may I remind you that the city is us. We are the city. Without community, there is no this. So if you truly want to protect Half Moon Bay, the city of Half Moon Bay, then protect us. We are the people. And like a young lady mentioned here, right, with Alcove, all this is intertwined. Has to do with mental health. It is heartbreaking to be speaking to my students with housing insecurity. How can we expect them to fully commit to their academic journey and be productive members of our society when they don't know where they're gonna sleep? How can I do my job as a youth mentor where I myself am experiencing housing insecurity by living paycheck to paycheck? My job is rewarding, and I love it. But I do not want to be pushed out of the community that built me. Graduated from Hatch, graduated from Cunha, and Half Moon Bay High School, proudly. I'm an alum of California State University, Long Beach, and I thought I was gonna move away, right? Leave this small place behind. But the community is what brought me back. That is why I'm here, and I was not planning to speak. I really was not. I have so much things going on, right? Politics, limited up here. There's a lot going on in our country right now. But at least I can help my community. And again, I'm here to remind you, we are the city. So just like you have stated multiple times, and I agree with you, protect the city. Protect us. And please do not drive us out. Thank you.
I wasn't planning to speak either, and you all know what my feelings have been about this. The real tragedy here, beyond the impact on renters, is that you had a choice. The staff did a fabulous job of identifying choices. It was a faulty ordinance that could have been repaired, and instead of repairing it, you eliminated it. It's a travesty. You could have fixed what was broken and not harmed your community. And you chose instead to be owned by the real estate industry. And that's reality.
I see one hand online raised. Aisha Barrow.
Hello, everybody. My name is Aisha. Is there an echo? Okay, great. My name is Aisha Barrow. I'm a resident of Half Moon Bay. I moved here in 2009, 17 years ago. And in that time, I've seen this community change. A lot of my own neighbors have been priced out and moved to other areas. And one steady presence that I've seen over the years has been the farm workers community. And as far as I'm concerned, they are an essential, non-negotiable part of the character of this town. Rent control and farm worker housing are intertwined. The objections stem from a similar sentiment that everyone should fend for themselves and that we don't have to take care of the most vulnerable. And over the years, since I've been listening to city council meetings, 555 Kelly started being discussed, and the concerns have been raised around traffic, neighborhood, character, infrastructure, environmental impacts, flooding, parking, all of it. And I don't want to minimize any of these concerns. I'm a resident of Half Moon Bay. I'm a property owner. I live a couple blocks from here. I'm a mom to a child who will go to Cunha in 2 years, and I care deeply about these concerns. But at the end of the day, I am much more concerned about us losing our humanity and a vital component of the character of Half Moon Bay. I know the city council does too, and that's why you have gotten this far on the ordinance, and I commend you for introducing it. And now is the time to come to approve it as it is today. Recently, I had the opportunity to go down to the mushroom farms along with Alas. I invited Sheriff Ken Binder and the Coastside Captain Alan Amon. They came. It was an amazing experience to have them all break bread together with the farm workers. All of us are in this together. Rent control, affordable housing, these are necessities. So today, I urge you to do the right thing. The entire nation is watching Half Moon Bay. And I want the end of the story to be that at the end of the day, on this day, on the Cinco of Mayo, we came together to honor the rich history of our town, which is made of farm workers too, and to declare that we want them here as part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else online who would like to comment on this item? I don't see anybody.
Robert.
Oh, Robert, sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to, first of all, thank all the folks who came here and weren't planning on speaking on this issue and have come forth and eloquently made the case for continuing our rent control program. And I really appreciated hearing some, voices that we may not have heard before, and how many younger folks who work here face the challenges of paying high rents. And we actually have also a significant growing population of seniors who rent. They're on fixed income. Social Security may be their only source of income. And in order for them to continue paying their rent and make ends meet, many of them are regular customers at Coastside Hope's food pantry. And I've spoken to people at Coastside Hope, and that's a growing number of individuals who are seniors. So yeah, I think we had a great ordinance in place. It was meant to be temporary. Most of the opposition I heard to that ordinance was from members of SAMCAR and landlords saying, hey, you've got a great state option to present your case if you feel you want to object to unreasonable rent control increases. But we also had here, for all of you to hear on City Council, legal experts from legal services saying that is an unenforceable statute as it stands. And so for me personally, I personally can't sit here and feel that I am fulfilling my duty to protect the health and safety of all members of this community and not support this rent control ordinance. And I'd be embarrassed if I didn't support it. And that's that's me personally. And I'm sorry that this is happening. And I think it does feel like a victory of special interest versus protecting the health and safety of everyone in our community. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. So yes, bringing it back to the council for any further comment. Vice Mayor, I think you wanted to comment.
Yes, I don't have the figures in front of me, but Matthew may remember. The cost of the program was $200,000, something like that, and was projected to be zero for the ongoing future.
So the first year of the program, which was, launching the program, ramping up and educating the community and all of that, there was a cost to the city, and Irma Acosta, our analyst that's been working on this, may have better recollection of those numbers. In the second year, it as far as we can tell, is cost neutral, that the fees collected cover the costs of administering the program. Yes.
And we also had information in your staff report about how few landlords left.
You're referring to exits from the rent stabilization and rent registry programs.
Exodus
correct?
From the city as landlords.
Correct. Irma, do you recall that number?
I think it was about 6 units that were removed from the rental market.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I think it was about 6 or 9 units that were removed from the rental market. 9, rental units that were removed.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And how many units altogether?
It was around 1,500.
1,500,
Mm-hmm.
so 6 or 7 of them, landlords decided that it was in their best interest to stop being landlords, or they left the area for whatever other reason.
Yeah, the reasons varied, whether it was owner move-in or the properties were sold, so it was kind of a mixed batch.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? I'll entertain a motion on the item.
Adoption of an ordinance repealing Municipal Code Chapter 6.04, Residential Rental Registration, and Chapter 6.06, Residential Rent Stabilization, and amending Section 6.02.020, definitions to remove terms relating to residential rental registration and stabilization programs.
Is there a second? I will second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brownstone?
No.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penrose?
No.
Mayor Ruddick?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're moving on to item 9H, which is the amendment to the agreement with Mays & Associates for independent auditing services. And I asked for this to be pulled. We had originally talked last year about putting out an RFP for a new auditor, best management practices, every 5 years. We haven't done that yet, and we still haven't received the audit for the previous year, which to me is a problem. You know, we're 6 months out from adopting the comprehensive financial management report, and we still haven't seen an audit or the single audit for the ARPA grant. So I just want a little information on that because I'm not prepared to amend the agreement until I see the audit that we're due from the recent year. So
Sure.
I
Thank
see
you, Madam Mayor.
Our finance director is here to report.
Yes, and I'll start. You are correct. The plan all along had been to do an RFP this fall to be prepared to enter into a new agreement, whether it was with Mays or another firm. As you know, our admin services director left last fall. We also had other turnover in that department, and the workload was such that this was one that we couldn't keep up with, and that's why we're requesting this extension, is to just give us another year to prepare that RFP and do it before the next year's contract year. I'll let Ken speak to the status of both the regular audit that we get annually as well as a single audit, which is related to federal funding.
Yeah. All right, thank you. This is Ken, Interim Administrative Services Director. So yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to this. So council knows this, but the city is required to do a audit every year that we do. In addition to that, there's a special requirement that we don't meet very often, and that's called a single audit. That's what occurs when we spend an X amount of dollars of federal funds. So the single audit is it was triggered this year, first time in the past 7 years for the OCC grant, or the Opportunity Coast Site Center. It has been delayed. It's a little bit behind schedule. The chief reasons is that it's fairly new to us, so there were some process gaps there. But the bigger reason is that the county is also doing their own audit of those funds. So it added a layer of complexity, but we received drafts from the county and from our auditors, and we're reviewing it, and hopefully we'll be bringing that to council. We're shooting for June. So the base audit, the thing that we do every year, that's done. Those reports are done. Those are finalized. We can bring those to council next meeting if council wishes. It's just that the single audit has been held up. So I can take any additional questions. Hopefully that addresses the immediate concerns.
It does, but I still want to see the base audit. If it's done, I want to see it. I'm not going to approve an extension until I see the audit. So,
fair enough.
Any questions from council members on this item? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, either in the room or online? Don't see anybody. I would move that we continue this item until we have a general or baseline audit to look at.
I would agree with that. Second.
Okay. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penrose.
Yes.
Mayor Reddick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I think those were the only two items that were pulled. Yep. So the next item would be ordinances and public hearings, which is item 11A, relating to 555 Kelly. But I think since it's 8:45, we'll take a 10-minute break and come back. Housing project, approving the affordable housing and property disposition agreement and ground lease and other agreements, and adopting a resolution approving a grant agreement. These are two separate items, the grant agreement and the ordinance. Staff will make a brief presentation first, then we will take public comment. We'll move back and forth between those in the room and those online. We have approximately the same number of speakers as last week, which means we're probably going to be here for a couple of hours taking comment. Then we're going to take another break, and then we will resume the meeting for council deliberation. So expect to be here till 11:30 tonight. So staff?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We will make this a very brief presentation. The purpose of tonight is really to just remind council and the community of the changes that were approved last week during the first reading and the introduction of the ordinance, and then allow for deliberation and a decision on the second reading and approval of the ordinance. And then we can talk more about the grant agreement when we reach that point. So I am not going to go over the project. I'll turn it over to our city attorney to cover the changes that were included last week, and then we'll be ready to take any questions you have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Denise Bazzano, interim city attorney. I will be brief about these slides. We went over them fairly exhaustively last week, and so just touching on the 4 different types of agreements very quickly. So first is the Affordable Housing and Property Disposition Agreement, or the AHPDA, as will commonly be referred to. It's the contract between City and Mercy Housing as the developer, which governs the relationship during the pre-development project period. The proposed AHPDA and the ground lease are drafted to run sequentially. So first, the AHPDA will be in effect, and then it will terminate once the memorandum of ground lease is recorded. There are many terms in the AHPDA that include obligations that Mercy has to fulfill related to the financing for the project. It also establishes certain conditions that need to be met before the memorandum of ground lease can be recorded. Some of those conditions are submission of organizational documents, evidence of project financing, final construction documents, building permit, et.cetera. There are also affordability requirements required as part of the AHPDA. It requires a covenant to ensure the project provides 100% affordable housing for senior, current, or retired agricultural workers with a mix of affordable units, including 10% due to be rented to households whose income do not exceed 30% of the adjusted AMI, and then 29 dwelling units that are to be rented to households whose incomes do not exceed 50% of the adjusted AMI. There are income targeting, like I mentioned, and long-term affordability requirements. The AHPDA also includes tenant preferences, and those tenant preferences are first, Half Moon Bay senior, current, or retired agricultural workers, Coastside seniors and current or retired agricultural workers in the coast side of San Mateo, and then the third preference is the broader San Mateo County area, senior or retired agricultural workers. These tenant preferences are subject to applicable federal or state law or any project funding sources, and the city will need to establish an ordinance to create these preferences. Oops. The ground lease. The proposed ground lease is the document that establishes the contractual obligations imposed on Mercy Housing as the tenant by the city, who will be the landlord, leasing its property to Mercy Housing. The key terms are it's for a period of 99 years. The rent is $1 per year for the duration of the ground lease as consideration of lease of the real property. There are insurance requirements. It also includes indemnity obligations that Mercy has to fulfill. There are also covenants of affordability that are included in the ground lease as well. There are maintenance and repair requirements in the ground lease, so Mercy is obligated to keep the property free of waste and in good condition. There are, it identifies requirements relating to the subleases, so there will be 2 subleases, a resident sublease and the resource center sublease. And those subleases have to include a provision that says that the subtenants will not sublease the units to anyone, and the form of the subleases need to be approved by the council prior to implementation. The ground lease also specifies terms and conditions for use of the community serving space on the property. The third agreement is called a memorandum of ground lease, and it's recorded against the property. It basically tells everyone that there is a ground lease recorded against the property. And the fourth agreement is the regulatory agreement. It's also recorded against the property and contains the covenants of affordability and provides notice to all interested parties of those covenants. So at the meeting on April 28, 2026, the council had a discussion about the terms and made certain specified amendments prior to introduction of the ordinance. So just touching on these amendments, they're described more thoroughly in the staff report, but very briefly, there were revisions to the CEQA language to just clarify some of the language itself. And staff also recommended amendment to section 3.4 of the regulatory agreement to remove references to 3-bedroom units. Those are not part of the project, but they were included in a definition in the regulatory agreement. And so staff recommended they would be removed, the references to the 3-bedroom units be removed. There was an amendment to the AHPDA to add a specific termination date of December 31st, 2028. There was also an amendment to the ordinance and the ground lease to provide a specific provision that the ground lease would be reviewed every 7 years rather than 10 years. And there was language that was revised to clarify that prevailing wages shall be paid. So just making that more clear. There were revisions that provided that the city manager may consult with city staff, the city attorney, and city council in areas where the city manager was tasked with making a determination or taking any action. There was also revisions to the record retention requirements to provide that the records would be retained 7 years rather than 5 years, and that the city could conduct an audit at any time. There were revisions or provision added to require transfer of keys, passcodes, et cetera, when the term of the ground lease ended, so at the time of surrender. And there were revisions to define disability more consistently with the government code provisions that define disability. So in summary, there's a draft ordinance that's being presented to the council tonight for second reading and adoption. And that draft ordinance contains the CEQA exemption language, makes specific determinations consistent with Government Code Section 37364 relating to affordable housing projects. The ordinance itself would approve the ground lease, the AHPDA, the memorandum of ground lease, and the regulatory agreement. The ordinance would also authorize the city manager to execute the documents and any affiliated documents that are referenced in the agreements. It requires periodic review of the lease, as I mentioned earlier. It specifies recording requirements for the memorandum of ground lease and the regulatory agreement. And it includes standard provisions like severability, publication, effective date, et cetera. And so now I'm going to turn it back to the city manager to talk about the grant agreement.
Thank you, Denise. We shared this last time, so I'll be brief, but as you know, as part of the funding, we received a state budget earmark through State Senator Becker's office to be used for this project, and previously it had not been needed because there was other funding for the pre-development work that was provided by the county. That agreement has ended and that funding has ended, and so Mercy has requested that we go ahead and enter into a grant agreement for the state funding. It would be on a reimbursement basis, meaning there are authorized activities that they can use this funding for, and they would do those activities, and then they would request payment from the city, and that way the city would continue to hold this in our affordable housing fund, and any unused funds would remain with the city and could be allocated towards something else. So the form of the agreement is very similar to the previous grant agreement for the county funds, and happy to talk more about this later on tonight. Thank you.
Any clarifying questions from council members? Okay, so we're going to take public comment, and each person will have 2 minutes. I'll call the person and the next person, so the next person get ready to speak. And I'll probably go back and forth between people in the room and people on Zoom. So my first speaker is Joan Dentler, representing Senator Josh Becker, followed by Nancy Fontana.
Thank you, Mayor Ruddick, and good evening, members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening on behalf of State Senator Josh Becker, who is in Sacramento and could not be here this evening, but he did ask me to come out and speak, of course, on behalf of in the support of the project of 555 Kelly. As was just mentioned in the city manager's report, in 2023-24 budget, Senator Becker was able to have $2 million from the state budget earmarked specifically for this project at 555 Kelly. And this was done, of course, in the advent of the tragic shooting of January of 2023 and the need for this housing for senior farm workers. Everything has already been discussed, so I will make my comment very brief from the senator, just by saying that the state of California has demonstrated its deep commitment to this development through multiple significant housing awards, in addition to the $2 million that Senator Becker secured for this. As you know, there have been infrastructure grant funding, the Joe Cerna Jr. Farm Worker Housing Grant, and others to make this project a reality. He commends the City Council for your leadership to affordable housing, and he strongly encourages you to advance this 555 Kelly project and adopt the ordinance this evening for the project, approving the affordable housing and property disposition agreement, the ground lease and other agreements, and adopting a resolution approving a grant agreement. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nancy Fontana, followed by Hal Bogner.
Oh, I had hoped for more time, and I prepared for it, but oh well. Council and members of the public, I'm not here speaking about approving or disapproving or the merits of the need for housing. I'm more speaking to the process I've observed, and I have some concerns. First is the lack of information and vagueness with regard to the applicant's intended use for the community areas of the building that are not essential to its residents, especially on weekends, which could have a negative impact on the downtown district, which, though tourist-oriented, contributes a great deal to the city's economic base, thereby relieving strain on local citizens. The city, I'm sure, will take action, but should reserve the right to quickly address any problems related to that use. Then I would like to address the questionable document language that was prepared by the applicant and the timing of the submittals. I imagine the council as a radar station hovering over piles and piles of pages full of complicated, important text, and scanning everything to try to be sure everything is in order. it really gave me pause at some of the terms that were found to be in these documents. The one you mentioned, the disability, that was the potential to be disabled or something like that. So vague, very subjective. This type of subjective language has no place in any legally binding document. The use of the term agricultural worker instead of farm worker, they have different meanings, which are very important. I don't believe the creators of these documents are incompetent, naive, or simply careless. This does not feel like a mistake. I think it was calculated to widen and broaden the potential for people to apply. So my trust is gone. Now I'm worried, and then they
And your time is up.
They stated something about the referendum not being applicable. It's a right the people have, and I don't know, I'm worried about, they snuck some language in about that too.
Thank you.
That's disturbing. Thank you.
The next speaker is Hale Bogner. Then I'm going to go online for Camille.
Good evening, council members, members of the public. I appreciate very much the tremendous turnouts of the community in this meeting and previous meetings. And I speak on behalf of our committee, which was formed to enable the voters of Half Moon Bay to address the matter in the November election. 2 years ago, I addressed the City Council priority setting meeting and said, the first 5-story building in town will not be the last if it is approved, and therefore it's a major decision. The coast side has a long history of major decisions, such as preserving the Main Street Bridge, keeping CAL FIRE, moving elections back to when more people could participate in even-numbered years, the tunnel, growth control limits measures A and D, the 75% yes vote to give the school district $30 million in construction money to build a middle school, and so on. And 2 years ago, we collected signatures when a previous question came up here. When that happened, the city advised that they did not need to process the 1,000+ signatures by voters and hold a referendum at the general election in November 2024, because it was administrative. This is the ground lease and such. This is an ordinance. It is referendable. I believe that had it gone to the ballot in November 2024, you may have broken ground, because if the community believes this is the right project, that it should be done in this place, or exceeds to doing it regardless of any reservations, that it would be in progress right now. I believe that in November of 2026, if voters support the petition that the Let Half Moon Bay Voters Decide committee will circulate in the coming month or so, that it will go to the November ballot. The community will be heard as people here have been heard, and we will get a final decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Your time is up. The next speaker is Camille, followed by Dorce.
Hi, good evening. My name is Camille Yanis Fontanilla, and I am a resident, not of Half Moon Bay, but of the broader Bay Area, and I've worked on issues at the intersection of housing, education, and economic development for over 2 decades. And I'm currently actively, personally, and professionally active in your city as a volunteer and donor. Prior to the tragic shootings, Half Moon Bay was a place my family and I came to once in a while for pumpkins and seafood. But following the storms and floods that were also affecting your community, and then the tragic shootings, me and people like me from across the Bay Area region and state, and also nation, became aware of the deplorable conditions farm workers, many of whom are seniors, face and wanted to do something about it. We have been part of farm worker caravan drives, donor briefings, and more. And in getting closer to your community, the asks that have come to many of us have been to show up, to donate, to prioritize Half Moon Bay in making our conference and tourism choices. And it has compelled us as everyday people to show up to your community, to stand with your community, to draw in development partners like Mercy Housing, and to walk with you locally with your partners like All Us and Coastside Hope. It has drawn in private philanthropy and broader government actors to get engaged. And truthfully, it has been the spirit of Half Moon Bay that was contagious, that you were all moving as one community. However, the narrative over the last couple of months has demonstrated that many of the decisions might be moving against the health and safety of the needs of your community that are most vulnerable. It is sounding like there are more politically expedient choices that are being made, which I want to say is short-sighted, because learnings across the region will show that if you do not provide adequate housing, rent stabilization, and economic pathways, you will see increases in homelessness, mental health challenges, and limited educational and economic mobility. We are seeing this across the Bay Area, and your community could be next. So tonight, I ask that you make the decisions that increase affordable housing to demonstrate to the broader region and the state that you are a kind and caring community that supports the people who have worked in your key industries
Thank
like
you.
agriculture.
Your time is up. Thank you. The next speaker is Doré, followed by Remy Dare. Doré, did you wish to speak on this item? I see your hand raised.
No, it's you. Hello, this is Frank with Doreen's email, and Doreen is here too.
Are you saying this is Doreen and Frank Garrity?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
You may speak.
Thanks. Good evening, council members. Thanks for having us tonight. There's been time and effort put into this project, but that time and effort is a sunk cost. You cannot look at it. You must only look at the cost of moving forward, costs including money, traffic, safety, congestion, loss of business, parking, etc. This building will be too tall, and it is supposedly for housing. If so, then why are we supporting 2,400 feet of common space plus another 2,700-foot community center when the building will be only 100 feet from an existing community center? Get rid of those two non-housing elements and you could reduce the building by a full story. Another question is, will the off-site parking place spaces be dedicated only to the building, therefore reducing visitor, shopper, and business parking? That would not be good for the city. And we didn't hear formally what happened to the request last week about earthquake insurance, and we really need to ensure that there is, if this project is not approved or there's a referendum, that we are indemnified from litigation or from being sued on it, as was brought up at last meeting. So we need to make sure that's in there no matter what happens here. Anyway, again, this project has cost too much money. We need to sell it for cash or lease it at full market value rate to benefit our city budget for generations to come. This is a business decision, not an emotional one. The future residents benefiting from our huge investment are not even required to be from Half Moon Bay or even San Mateo County. You represent every resident and business of Half Moon Bay, not just special interest groups and people, some of which are not in Half Moon Bay. The people and businesses of Half Moon Bay must get the biggest say in this. So please retain our unique small town feel and character that we enjoy and that our tourism businesses rely upon.
Thank you, Frank.
No on the Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Remy Dare, followed by Aisha Barrow.
In 2022, when the city selected Mercy Housing and ALAS to develop affordable housing for senior farm workers at the 555 Kelly site, our team was incredibly honored. Mercy Housing's only other housing community in Half Moon Bay is at Coastside Senior Housing on Main Street, where there are 40 affordable apartments and supportive services for very low-income seniors. At 555 Kelly, the vision is to provide senior farm workers who have worked for decades in local farms with affordable housing in a supportive environment where they can age with dignity. There are some key ways in which the city has shaped 555 Kelly that I want to highlight. The city's Architectural Advisory Committee reviewed the 555 Kelly design twice, helping us to incorporate architectural features to reflect Half Moon Bay's special character. And in a genuine effort to respond to community concerns, we worked with the Planning Commission to reduce the building height so that at its tallest point, it is only 5 feet above what the city would normally allow. This is written into the city's conditions of approval. Last year, Councilmember Penrose and Mayor Brownstone worked with us for several months to further shape the 555 Kelly development to better meet the needs of Half Moon Bay. There are 2 key outcomes of that process. First, we created a clear preference for local senior farm workers, with the first preference to senior farm workers living or working in Half Moon Bay, the second preference for senior farm workers living or working in the coast side, and the third preference for senior farm workers living or working in San Mateo County. These preferences are written into the city's regulatory agreement and the long-term ground lease. Next, the ground floor resource center was modified to provide a multi-purpose space that will be available for the wider Half Moon Bay community to use for 16 hours per week. We look forward to seeing this resource center become an affordable community space enjoyed by all Half Moon Bay residents. We appreciate all of the care and expertise that the city family has dedicated to the 555 Kelly development. Together, we are uplifting senior farm workers in this community through beautifully designed, affordable, and dignified housing that the Half Moon Bay community can be proud of.
Thank you, Rami. The next speaker is Aisha Barrow, followed by Mike Ferrara.
Okay, thank you so much. I already spoke earlier on rent control, and I also wanted to just iterate again my support for this farm worker housing for 555 Kelly. The first speaker who spoke talked about the character of Half Moon Bay, and as I've mentioned, it baffles me anytime that people do not take farm workers as part of the character of Half Moon Bay. As I've mentioned before, and I think I saw him in the back of the room here via Zoom, Captain Alan Amon, I believe that's him, and Sheriff Bender came to the mushroom farm where the shooting took place with us, and just seeing, everybody in community was such a moving part of that day, and we need to stick to each other and make sure that we stick with our farm workers, support them, and as the previous speaker mentioned, if we don't do that, there could be some further mental health impact, bigger crime, homelessness, and we just need to support our senior farm workers. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mike Ferrara, followed by Lenny Mendonça.
Good evening, Mayor Ruddick, council members. To reiterate somewhat what I said at the last meeting, a compliant project is 40 units at 4 stories. That's what went out in the RFQ. That's where we started this process. It was a tight fit. It barely squeezed into the city's ordinances plus whatever special considerations were available from state law. And then somewhere in the process came this major transit stop. For the benefit of the audience, major transit stop is something that was invented in the legislature, and it requires that your transit be on 15-minute headways in both directions. And if you are within half a mile of such a place, then you get lots of exceptions as to heights and parking, etc. It was disgraceful to watch the former city attorney at the Planning Commission not allow the planning commissioners to try to make sense of that there is no major transit stop in this city. It was a disgrace. But somehow the planning commissioners felt pressured and they moved forward with it. I don't think that's going to be changed here tonight. There has been talk of referendum. If the people have to straighten that out, if the people have to decide whether there's a major transit stop in this town, then I guess they're going to have to. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lenny Mendonça, followed by Leslie Robertson.
Hi, my name is Lenny Mendoza. I have lived on the coast since 1989, along with my 2 daughters and now 4 grandchildren. One of those daughters and her 2 grandchildren live in the city of Half Moon Bay and are voters here. I'm not speaking on her behalf. I'm also the owner of the Half Moon Bay Brewing Company, which now will be paying taxes in the city of Half Moon Bay when we open a location this month. I do not have a vote in Half Moon Bay. I was also the former Chief Economic and Business Advisor to Governor Gavin Newsom. I'm not speaking on his behalf. I am speaking on my behalf and my wife's behalf and the Half Moon Bay Brewing Company's behalf to say that I really want to compliment the city staff and city attorney for their hard work on this project and the work leading up to it. I read this in great detail. It's fantastic work. I want to compliment the city council for a very thorough and complete discussion on April 25th. I think that was the date. I'm losing track of days. I was listening online. I really appreciate that. This is hard work, and I commend your effort to ensure that you follow that work and approve this tonight. So thank you.
Leslie Robertson, followed by April Vargas.
Hi, I'm Leslie Robertson. I've lived in Half Moon Bay more than 30 years. I deeply love this town. You've heard me stand up and talk about that before. I want to talk tonight about things I do for ALAS. I've been a very ardent volunteer with ALAS almost since its founding, and for the past 7 years, I have organized the Thanksgiving feast for the community. I fundraise for this all over the world, and people from all over the world send donations to make this gesture to this hardworking community who feeds us all. I also am part of the Farm Worker Accordion Program, which was formed after the shooting as a therapy. Again, I fundraise for field trips and so forth that we take, and again, people from all over the world mail money to ALAS because they care about this community. I'm asking City Council to demonstrate that they care as much about this community as these people from all over the world do. This has taken far too long. I commend your diligence, but it has gone into crazy town now. We need to approve this. We're putting our city at legal risk if we don't approve it, and it is just simply the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. April Vargas, followed by Ramon Senequi.
Good evening. I took some time and reviewed the changes which were put before the council based on the discussion on April 28th. And the fact that the city does have the ability to inspect the property at any time to make sure that things are being handled in the way that they should be and can take action if anything is amiss is really important. In this agreement, because you all acting on behalf of all the residents of the city have to make sure that whatever agreement you enter into is responsible and basically accountable, which I believe this is. This is a project that the community needs. This has been discussed for a long time. Tonight is a momentous occasion because you can finally approve this, and I urge you, please, to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, April. The next speaker is Ramon Senequi, followed by Joanne Rokoski.
Buenas noches, alcaldesa y Consejo Municipal de Half Moon Bay. Yo, Ramón Sonoski, soy trabajador del campo desde hace muchos años en el área de la costa. He trabajado bajo el sol, la lluvia y el frío para llevar comida a sus mesas. Hoy no vengo a pedir un favor, vengo a pedir justicia. Muchos de nosotros, después de toda una vida, hemos trabajado en el campo, en un lugar digno, muchas de nosotros después de toda una vida trabajando, no tenemos un lugar digno donde descansar. Este proyecto es solo una construcción, es dignidad, es respeto, es esperanza. Hoy ustedes tienen la oportunidad de marcar la diferencia de apoyar a quienes han trabajado toda su vida por esta comunidad. Sin los trabajadores del campo no hay comida y sin apoyo no hay descanso para nosotros. Les pedimos que aprueben este proyecto para que podamos vivir nuestros últimos años con dignidad. Gracias.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council from Half Moon Bay. My name is Ramon Sonoki. I am a worker, a field worker for many years in the area, the coastal area. I have been working under the sun, rain, and cold to bring food to your tables. Today, I'm not coming to ask you for a favor. I'm here to ask for justice. Many of us, after a whole life working, we don't have a real place where we can rest. This project is not only a construction, it's dignity, it's respect, and it is hope. Today, you have the opportunity to mark the difference, supporting those that have been working all their lives for this community. Without the field workers, there is no food. And without your support, there is no rest for us. We ask that you approve this project so we can live a quiet life, the last years of our life with dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Joanne Murkowski, followed by Rita Mancera, who's online.
Good evening, council members. I come to you tonight representing the many Coastside Faith in Action members and wider Faith in Action Bay Area members who've attended meeting after meeting, all in support for the senior farm worker housing at 555 Kelly, and now with the plea to approve the required ordinances for the project to move forward. Some of us are present tonight. Please stand. Thank you. There are many others who are here in spirit, but could not be here in person tonight. Please move forward now so that the senior farm workers can get the housing they need and want. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Rita Mancera, followed by Joaquin Jimenez. See all of this here.
Hi, everybody. Most of you know me. I am the Executive Director of Puente de la Costa Sur in Pescadero. Providing quality housing for farm workers is not only the right thing to do, it really strengthens our entire coastside community, and we do feel part of your community too. For some of you, you first heard about the housing conditions after the shooting, but these conditions have been prevalent in our communities, the entire coastside, for many years, for decades. And farm workers and advocates are often not easily heard on this issue. So, Council, I'm afraid that you will not have another opportunity such as this in your hands anytime soon if you don't advance this project tonight. I hope that you choose health, justice, and equity tonight. Please move this project forward. Thank you. We are with you, Half Moon Bay.
Thank you. The next speaker is Joaquin Jimenez, followed by Rick Bonilla.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council members, city staff, members of the public. My name is Joaquin Jimenez. I would like to second, third, and fourth, fifth, and everything about your staff. You have some of the best staff that I've actually recognized in the community in Half Moon Bay in San Mateo County for all the work that they do and how much they care about the work that they do. When we address abundant grace, people came forward against it, that there were going to be problems created for our students, middle school and elementary school. When we talked about the shelter, it was the same thing. Many people came speaking against the shelter. Then when we talked about Stone Pine, many residents came forward to speak against Stone Pine. now that we are addressing 555 Kelly, there are some residents that are speaking against it. At the last meeting, I mentioned that this smells like racism, classism, maybe even corruption. By the examples that I gave you, the smell is getting stronger. It seems like racism and classism play a big factor on how you make your decision, that you are serving a special interest, and that is not the interest of the community that needs you. You have a larger community to serve, correct. But the community we are addressing today, they have left their blood, their sweat, and their tears in the fields. They have been the base of the economy, not only of this county, but also of this country. You have the opportunity to make history, to actually create something for farm workers that are retired, like you saw Compadre Sonoki on a wheelchair.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Rick Bonilla. I don't see anybody raised hand online. Rick Bonilla, followed by Christy Samuels.
Good evening, council members, and thank you to everybody for being here tonight. Rick Bonilla, former mayor, city of San Mateo. I'm also a member of the board of directors at the Housing Action Coalition of California. I'm the chair of the board of directors at the Housing Leadership Council of San Mateo. Mr. Chan will speak on behalf of the Housing Leadership Coalition tonight. I'm here to say that as a chair, I definitely support this project, and I believe the time has come. This appears to be eminently approvable. I'm looking at all the work that's been done. I have to say every question I think that can possibly be asked and answered has been asked and answered. Also, I have to say my position as the Housing Action Coalition, member of the board there for the last 3 years, a member of the Project Review Committee. We did never have a chance to review this project, but I have to tell you, in my experience, having reviewed many projects, this is one we definitely would have approved. It just didn't come to us for approval. As a representative of the Carpenters Union, I have to say that we support projects like this, which pay the prevailing wage, when they have good, honest, upstanding contractors who actually pay the prevailing wage every day. The prevailing wage allows for wages, benefits, and apprenticeship use. This creates a longevity in the construction building industry. I know that Mercy Housing has not decided yet who they're going to use for contractor, but I understand they intend to use a contractor who is honest and pays the real wage and provides for the needs for the construction workers every day, and that's good enough for me. I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy Samuels, followed by Ken Chan.
Good evening. It's late. I just want to say I hope that you'll go ahead and pass this project and go ahead and vote yes for 555 Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken Chan, followed by Orocio Avala Garcia.
Good evening, members of the Half Moon Bay City Council. My name is Ken Chan, and I'm the organizing manager with the Housing Leadership Council, San Mateo County. We work with communities and their leaders to produce and preserve quality, affordable homes. I'd first like to thank staff for all their hard work in tonight's presentation and report. On behalf of HLC, I'd like to express our support for the 555 Kelly Avenue proposal by Mercy Housing. I'd like to also emphasize that when leaders like you make good housing policies and decisions, the housing system operates better, and we don't lead the survival of so many people to the chance or luck. Our system should help us plan for and provide for the critical things that our community members actually need to live, work, and thrive here in Half Moon Bay. The 555 Kelly proposal belongs in those plans, bringing 40 new affordable homes near downtown to some of your city's most vulnerable senior retired farm worker community members. These homes will allow your residents to continue supporting the local community by spending their hard-earned dollars in neighborhood shops, restaurants, and other small businesses. You'll also be giving the very people who make your city such an attractive place to live access to dignified housing, allowing them to age in place gracefully, close to family, friends, and community. But this can only happen if you choose to invest in your people to help move it across the finish line. How you choose to respond matters. Tonight is your opportunity to help make Half Moon Bay an even more livable and welcoming place. This is your chance to make a positive and historic impact on your community. We encourage you to seize it by approving the $2 million grant, the ground lease, and other related development agreements. Please don't let this moment pass you by. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rocio Avila Garcia, followed by Jordan Grimes.
Mi nombre es Rocío Ávila.
My name is Rocío Ávila.
Y soy miembro del Comité de Vivienda Asequible y líder comunitario en mi comunidad.
And I am a member of the Affordable Housing Committee, and I am part of this community.
Vengo hoy a representar a quienes están aquí presentes, a los que están por Zoom y a los que no asistieron hoy.
I came here to represent the ones who are present, the ones who are watching us through Zoom, and the ones who could not make it today.
Hoy venimos a respaldar el proyecto de 55 Kelly.
Today we come to support the project of 555 Kelly.
Y quiero decirles y hacerles entender que irse a la boleta electoral solo tendrían voz las personas que pueden votar.
And I want to tell you and try to make you understand that if you make this a ballot, only the people who can vote would have a voice.
Y que no están en una necesidad de vivienda.
And they're not in need of an affordable housing.
Esto no sería justo para todas las personas que están en necesidad de vivienda.
This would not be fair for all of the people who are in need of a house.
Y por último quiero decir,
and lastly I want to say,
hay personas que se han retirado de esta reunión.
There are people who have left this meeting already.
Pero quiero pedirle a las personas presentes,
but I want to ask the people who are present,
que han trabajado o que siguen trabajando en el campo, que levanten sus manos.
The ones who have worked or are working on the fields to raise their hands.
Ahora quiero pedirles a las personas que apoyan la vivienda y a las personas campesinas que levanten sus manos.
Now I want to ask that the people who support this project for the affordable housing to raise their hands.
Señores concejales,
council members,
si ustedes deciden hoy decir sí a 55 Kelly,
if you decide to say yes today to 555 Kelly,
beneficiarán a las personas campesinas que anhelan tener una vivienda asequible.
You will benefit the field workers who wish to have an affordable housing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jordan Grimes, followed by Carolina Carbajal.
Good evening, Council, Honorable Mayor. I'm hoping that this is the last time I will get to address this council, at least on this issue. I've been coming here for the last 2 years, occasionally on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, spending my evenings with you. And not that you're not all wonderful people, but I am looking forward to having some of those evenings back. My family has been coming to Half Moon Bay for quite a long time. My grandfather's ashes were scattered over the ocean years ago. And as a small child, I would come with my family, with my mother and my grandmother, and we would get sandwiches downtown at the deli, and we would go to the beach, and we would see him. And after my grandmother passed, we would do the same thing with her. And that has always been my memory and my feeling of this town. It's just this deep love for this wonderful place and this wonderful community. And that has been somewhat tarnished over the last couple of years, seeing how people have reacted to this project that would do so much for people who have so little and who have given so much to this community, who truly make up this community. You have the opportunity tonight to advance a project that would do an incredible amount for their lives. And I just urge you to restore in the eyes, in my eyes and in the eyes of everyone here, the reputation of this town as a wonderful, compassionate, caring place. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolina Carbajal, followed by Antonio Lopez.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
No quisiera sonar de una forma grosera, pero trataré de hacer esto la más amigable que se pueda.
I do not want to sound rude, but I'm going to try to make these as friendly as possible.
Es triste ver que la postura muchas veces está clara, ¿verdad?
It is sad to see that your guys' posture is like very clear sometimes, right?
Que las personas con poder y con dinero tienen más poder de decisión.
That the people who have the power and the money have more power to make decisions.
Sería triste también que nosotros como campesinos y trabajadores esenciales
It would also be sad that for us as farm workers and essential workers,
también decidiéramos no proporcionar nuestros productos.
we would also decide to not give our products.
A todas esas personas que niegan las viviendas para estas personas que lo merecen,
To all of the people who are denying affordable housing for the people who deserve it,
nosotros dijéramos no les vamos a dar alimentos ya.
we could say, we're not going to feed you anymore.
No les vamos a prestar nuestros servicios,
We're not going to give you our services.
ni en educación, ni en construcción, ni en limpiezas, ni en jardinerías.
On education, construction, cleaning, or landscaping.
Esas personas son las que necesitan las viviendas accesibles.
Those are the people who need the affordable housing.
Sería triste que dijéramos no vamos a dar más alimentos para toda la nación que no apoya las viviendas accesibles.
It would be sad if we said we're not going to feed the nation who are not supporting the affordable housing.
Pero tristemente también somos esclavos de esta sociedad.
But sadly, we're also slaves of this
Y
society.
como en los tiempos antiguos, los esclavos tampoco podemos decidir.
And just like in prior times, the slaves also cannot decide.
La decisión está en nuestros dueños.
The decision is with our owners.
Ustedes tienen la capacidad de darle vivienda digna a estas personas.
You guys have the capacity to give dignified housing to these people.
Personas que sí pagan impuestos.
People who do pay taxes.
Todos inmigrantes pagamos impuestos.
All of us immigrants pay taxes.
Si vamos a comprar una soda, pagamos impuesto por eso.
And if you're going to buy a soda, we pay taxes for that.
Y nunca se han negado a no recibirlo, ¿verdad?
And you guys have never said, no, I don't want it, right?
Todos trabajamos y pagamos y el impuesto también.
We all work and then we also pay for taxes from that.
Y todos aceptan nuestro dinero.
And everybody takes their money.
No importa que sea un trabajo duro el que hacemos, siempre aportamos a la sociedad.
No matter if our work is harder, we're always trying to give something to the society.
Estas personas no están pidiendo algo gratis.
These people are not asking for free things.
Entregaron su vida por esas viviendas.
They gave their lives for these houses.
Personas que no tienen derecho a tener remuneración al ser ancianos.
People who have no right to have remuneration when they retire.
No importa cuán duro trabajemos.
No matter how hard we work.
Jamás tendremos derecho a ser en este país reconocidos por nuestro trabajo duro.
We will never be able to be recognized in this country for our hard work.
Porque se sigue demostrando esa postura.
Because that posture, it is still clearly shown.
Espero que este día tomen la decisión correcta.
I hope that today you guys make the right
Y si
decision.
no es así,
And if it's not
también
like that,
espero que tomen la responsabilidad del futuro que viene.
I also hope that you guys be responsible for what's coming.
De la demanda que nuestro gobernador está proponiendo.
For the lawsuit that the governor is proposing.
Y que toda la mano esencial de este pueblo también se decida mudar.
And that all of the essential hands from this town will also decide to vote.
Al no haber hogares accesibles, no tenemos nada que hacer aquí.
If there is no affordable housing, we have nothing to do here.
Gracias por su
Thank you.
atención.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Antonio Lopez, followed by Felix Torres.
Mayor, members of the council, Antonio Lopez, former mayor for the city of East Palo Alto. But I'm not speaking to you as a mayor. I'm not speaking as a former elected official. I'm speaking to as someone who is the son of immigrants. I'm speaking to as someone who deeply cares about this community, whose grandfather is buried at Skylawn, who has deep roots here, who loves this community. And I want to implore you, and I want you to remind each other that I think the most beautiful part about Half Moon Bay is not the beaches, it's not the Ritz-Carlton, it's not the main bridge, it's the people. It's the folks who make up this beautiful cloth, this beautiful, gorgeous community. But the reality is not everybody has a seat at the table. And I'm struck a little bit by some of the comments earlier said when folks say the people have the right. But who are the people in that sentence? Who's not being a part of this conversation? Who feels scared to show up in this era, in this climate, to even go out to church for food? And so this project, this 40-unit project, it's a symbol of what our values are as a community. Where are we going to stand when you all finish, when this is all said and done, when you finish your time on council? What will be your legacy? What will you tell your grandchildren? What did I get done? What are the things that I feel proud of? How many roofs did I put over your head? How many people did I feed? How was I able to move the needle in what is one of the most expensive places in the world? I understand the idyllic, beautiful pasture that is Half Moon Bay. And also, we live in one of the most demanding, expensive places in the world. And one of the things that cities have to do is grow and adapt and evolve. That's just biology. And we have an opportunity to say tonight, we have something in our hands that says, thank you for your labor, for your sweat, for your sacrifice, for the children who want to live here. And so tonight, I don't want you to say yes because you have for Governor Newsom or for Mayor or for Rob Bonta. I don't want you to say yes for the lawsuit. I want you to say yes for folks like in this picture, people that are toiling every single day, for the folks who are the farm workers, for the people who put food on our table. Say yes that you matter just as much as someone who has the right to a referendum.
Thank you,
Please be on the side
Antonio.
of history tonight. Gracias.
Felix Torres, followed by Lily Ray, who is online.
Hola, muy buenas noches.
Good evening.
Yo, Félix Torres,
I am Felix Torres.
soy un campesino que ha sido dedicado parte de mi vida en, al cultivo de vegetales en el área de la bahía. Durante muchos años he trabajado en la agricultura. Con mi esfuerzo al crecimiento de vegetales. Soy como persona de la tercera edad. Deseo expresar mi apoyo al proyecto de vivienda de 5 Kelly. Proyecto de vivienda es fundamental para muchos campesinos que han trabajado durante décadas y hoy enfrentan grandes dificultades para encontrar un hogar donde vivir, y lo digo porque tengo varios compañeros que hoy no están aquí por situaciones médicas, pero tienen la esperanza de que hoy ustedes van a cambiar esta historia para muchas de ellos. Aprobando este proyecto del 5 Kelly, nosotros sola respetar vivienda, sino también tranquilidad y dignidad para estas personas mayores que han dedicado su vida al campo. Creo firmemente que este proyecto ayudaría a vivienda, la crisis de vivienda que afecta tantas familias y que abrirá la puerta para que muchas campesinos puedan abrir un lugar seguro donde descansar. Gracias.
I am Felix Torres. I am a farm worker who has dedicated a big part of my life to growing vegetables in the Bay Area. For many years, I have worked in the agriculture business, building with a lot of force to the building of this community. Today, as a person who is getting older, I wish to express my support to this housing project of 555 Kelly. This housing project is fundamental for many of the farm workers who have worked for decades, and today they are facing really difficult times to find an accessible and affordable place to live. I say this because personally I have seen several of my coworkers who are not here today for different medical situations, but they have the hope that today you guys will change the history for a lot of them by approving this project. 555 Kelly not only represents housing, but it also represents calm and dignity for the elder people who have dedicated their life to the field. I firmly believe that this project would help alleviate the housing crisis that is affecting so many families, and it will open the doors for all of those farm workers so they can finally have a safe place where they can rest.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lily Ray, followed by Porfirio Vasconcelos.
Hi, this is Lily Ray, and I want to say thank you to all of you for being there. I want to say thank you to the enormous amount of people over what feels like a decade that we've been working on 555 Kelly. It's an amazing visionary opportunity for Half Moon Bay to do the right thing for people in this community. And even the word community in Half Moon Bay has overall community, and urging all of you to look at doing what the right thing to do is for the people who have been in Half Moon Bay for longer than many of you sitting in that room today. So thank you for your time on this. I have to say, I've been involved with 555 Kelly almost from the beginning with the RFQ, and it's like the longest movie of The Wizard of Oz that I have ever experienced. There has been so much compromise, so much effort, so many local, county, and state officials getting involved. But in spite of all of that, at the heart of this reality, it is absolutely the right thing to do. So I urge you to make that a reality tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Porfirio Vasconcelos, followed by R.J. Jennings. Is Porfirio here this evening? I'm going to ask R.J. Jennings to come up, and then we'll bring up Porfirio if he's still here. Is R.J. Jennings here? Okay. R.J., would you like to come to the podium?
Thank you. Mayor Ruddick, Vice Mayor Penrose, our council members, and city staff, thank you all for the work that you do. We the people. We the people. It has a beautiful ring to it, but if we look at our Declaration, our Constitution, it doesn't include women as people. It does not include people of color in that description. It is designed for white male property owners. That if we're not willing to begin to change the path of that declaration, of that intention, we continue to live in it. And this is a chance to make the change. And as I look at all of you, I know that we all have our own challenges and traumas that we come from, that we all have our struggles, whether it's family members and children that maybe someday has to face discrimination and issues because of the color of their skin. Maybe it's about our family members that we have to fight for because our community and our country doesn't always see them and the needs that they have. So this isn't foreign to you. So I have a dream. I have a dream that you will do the right thing, that you will look inside and make this change, that you won't use something like earthquake insurance as a shield to shift this around. Because if that's the case, then we shouldn't be in any of these buildings. So I'm asking you, let's put this to bed. Let's put it to rest. You know the right thing to do. So I appreciate the time and all of your effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Checking back to see if Porfirio is here, or no? I'm guessing not. Okay, so the next speaker, the last speaker is Maria Lourdes Duran.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es María Lourdes Durán.
My name is Maria Lourdes Duran.
Y no estaba para hablar, pero no sé qué me puso en mi cabeza que tenía que venir a decir unas 3 palabras.
And I was not planning to speak, but I don't know what went into my head that I have to say a word or two.
Me tengo aquí en Estados Unidos desde el 75, ya más de 50 años, aquí viviendo en Half Moon Bay.
I've been in the U.S. since 1975, and I've always been living in Half Moon Bay.
Y mi sueño es que aprueben la petición que hemos estado haciendo, 555 Kelly Avenue. Mi sueño, ya me sueño en una casita ahí para dormir bien a gusto, ya bien relajada porque ya trabajé muchos años y ya necesito un descanso.
My dream is for you guys to approve this project of 555 Kelly. I can already dream and picture myself resting in one of those beds, just comfortable because I've worked so much already.
Y no preocuparme mucho por la renta que tiene uno que pagar día con día y pues ya me siento ya cansada.
And I wouldn't have to worry so much to pay the rent that you have to pay and save so much money for that because I'm already tired.
Y si no me toca a mí, pues para las más personas que vienen atrás de mí, que les sirva para esas personas también.
And if I don't get to enjoy this project, at least I know that other people after me will be able to enjoy it.
Y aquí no sé si me han visto seguido aquí en las juntas porque estoy apoyando al 555 Kelly Avenue. Muchas gracias, ya no quiero más decir por no entretenerlos. Muchas gracias, se los agradezco y que piensen que estamos aquí por algo, porque nos apoyen. Muchas gracias, se los agradezco de todo corazón y Diosito les ponga el corazón blandito para que nos ayuden. Muchas gracias.
Gracias, Lourdes.
I don't know if you guys know my face already, but I've been here in all of these meetings in support of this project, and may God make your hearts soft so you guys can approve this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to take a break for a few minutes. If everybody could come back here by, say, a little after 10:15, okay? Thanks. I'll ask him. Robert, has anybody shown up at your location in Florence to address this item?
Not yet. Too early in the morning.
Not yet. Okay. That's good to know. All right. I thought we could start by just hearing from each of the council members where you're at this moment. Who would like to go first? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to thank especially Mayor Ruddock and Councilmember Nagenguest for the thorough review of the documents. I think it was essential that it get done. I'm sorry I wasn't able to contribute more, but I'm not bright in that way. At any rate, I really appreciate what you've done. I am ready to go ahead and approve this resolution tonight, and I'm hoping that we can get through this in a timely manner, get it approved, and get home and go to bed.
Okay, who would like to go next? Patrick, would you like to go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Paul and Mayor Ruddock for doing a very well fine-tuned, detailed on that lease agreement, and things that I didn't even, I mean, I made underlinings, and I thought about the fire, and then I thought about, you know, the beach house, and you know, what happens when the building is completely burned down, and who pays for that, and what do we do with something now that's burned, you know, all these scenarios. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it has happened, and that makes your mind wander. So you guys really went deep, and I thought it was great. And I want to say thank you, and I think I've thanked Paul personally. I said you did a great job. Mayor, I didn't say anything to you, but I'm saying it now. I would not be able to go that deep because that's language that half of that stuff I don't understand, so I wouldn't, but I get the grasp of it. On this project, as a resident, I'm a supporter of permanent affordable housing for the senior and retired and farm workers, people who have long contributed to our community and now face growing housing insecurity. I appreciate the 555 Kelly project and how the people engaged with this and how the community came in to change it numerous times. Chad Hooker was a big driving force on this, and so was the ARC and all the committees that were part of that. All the improvements that you saw in the building were done through the community in numerous workshops. A lot of details, otherwise you would have just gotten big boxes and big windows. Not to say anything's wrong, Mercy. I don't mean this as a personal attack to Mercy whatsoever. But I do see the senior housing. That was one of the projects I was on Planning Commission, and that was pretty much flat wall facade straight up. And that's not my favorite building. So if you look at this building, I think it looks really nice. The back side of the senior center looks really good. The front side is not that appealing. If you drive by it, you'll see it. Most importantly, the residents' preference, the framework that gives the first priority to qualified retired farm workers in Half Moon Bay, nearby coastal communities. That was brought forward in numerous meetings, and I remember who brought it forward, and Mercy came back and made it very clear that Half Moon Bay would be number 1, Coastsiders would be number 2, and then San Mateo County would be number 3. So every time there's been an issue brought forward, there's been something that has changed. The other one that I remember was the community room. That was a big kind of like we would like to see that for our community in Half Moon Bay and be together as we're talking about being together. And a loss and Mercy has made that with 16 hours a week. So every little thing that we brought forward, not me, not personally, but just as the group has brought things forward, there has been changes. With that said, I offer my support because of but there are several unresolved issues the city should address. But I'm worried is the height and precedence. Proposal calls for a 5-story building in a town where the ordinance says historically 4. Allowing these exceptions risks setting a precedent that could change the scale and character of the downtown. Any height and density exceptions should be narrowly justified and should not become a de facto template to future projects without formal zoning changes and public review. Transit proximity and density bonus eligibility. One of the bases for the density waiving exemptions is proximity to a major transit stop, which we don't have. Half Moon Bay does not have a major transit stop and completed state guidance. Now, there again, we didn't really get a true grasp of what a major transit stop was at that time, and I was part of that. I listened to it, and then later on, we got a clear definition. So the Planning Commission at that time made a decision based on definition that they were given, and then later on, that definition wasn't really true. And then you had the state of Newsom at that time coming down and saying, we're going to sue Half Moon Bay if you guys don't approve this project. So the whole time we've been getting this political, pretty much strong-arming on this project the whole way through. What else? Parking and mobility. Parking requirements were reduced on the project approvals. Reduced parking can promote affordability and transit use, but must reflect realistic residents' and visitors' needs in our small coastal town. I would request, or we should, a parking and transportation, so a TDM plan with enforceable metrics, so we can actually, we've done that, and we've got 18 units inside here at this parking lot, and we've also reconfigured the new parking lot. But I worry about when we have farmers market and the load on this little area that we have for our community members. So we've made adjustments with that also. And that had to deal with, Kike was there, and he said that, and they've talked to each other, and we had meetings. And the old post office, you said that you could use some of the parking stalls there for some of the workers that work there. So every time there's been something brought forward, there has been a tweak. So I appreciate that, because I hope that stays true, even though that was just a handshake, it was a gesture. SECO exemptions, traffic impacts, pedestrian safety. We don't know how safe it's going to be. We have a problem down the street, and we know this is a very fast-moving street. So I would like, if this project goes through, that we actually address these issues at some point. Being downtown Half Moon Bay and routes to services schools experiencing heavy pedestrian activity, regardless of exemption status, the city should require traffic and pedestrian safety assessments and commit to a specific mitigation improvements, crosswalks, sidewalks, lighting, curb extensions, signage, and traffic calming. With that said, that's exactly why when you leave this outside, when you pull out of here, when we did the Boys and Girls Club, and that was brought forward, the Boys and Girls Club, Abundance Grace, all these things that came down in this town was a no, we can't have it, and I get that, and that's how this town operates. It's always been that way. But with that said, I remember Chad Hooker, and I was sitting in this room, and I wasn't on Planning Commission at the time, but I think I was dealing with my growth and my expanding of my house. All I wanted was 10 feet for a newborn baby that I have now, and thank God I do, because she's disabled now, and I need every square inch that I have for her, all her things that she has. But Chad Hooker brought forward the crosswalk that you see, that you push the button and it blinks for that safety on that street. So with all the inputs that happen in this room, you get outputs, you get things done. So Alas and Mercy and the people in this town have brought many things to change this building, the structure where it's at, even though it's awfully tall, and people, that's one of the things people are bringing up. I'm in favor of it moving forward based on the fact that everything we've done, we've gone through all the sequences. Now, it was tough. It was not well defined, but we're at that end of the line of assembly line, and it's gone through the planning commission, it's gone through an appeal, it's gone through everything that can be done. But if we could have a way that we could not set a precedence, make sure it's safe, deal with parking as needed as best we can, that's where I'm at right now on this project. It's been a long road. I got pulled into this. I got asked to, literally, I think, asked to be part of this because of this project, because I was on planning commission. Doesn't mean I was the expert. It wasn't mean I was the best. It was just somebody asked me and people asked me to be support. There's other reasons, I was asked to be on city council even before this project was put on. This was when Naomi was mayor. So a lot of times you get asked to do stuff and you do it for the love of this city. And I'm doing this right now for the love of my city, but I don't want to hurt my city at the same time. I want to make it safe. I want it to be for everybody, and that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Ruddick. I want to start by saying that I've read each letter and email anyone that has sent to me or to the town or the city. And I want to thank everyone for submitting those letters and emails, that attend the meetings, that still sit through these, like you all here now, that speak at the meetings. Not everybody will speak at the meetings, or just catch me on the streets to talk about 555 Kelly. No matter if you're young or seasoned, it was clear it was a topic of interest to talk about 555 Kelly, and it's great to see the community talk about it and participate. I've heard that word community said here a lot this evening, and that's important. Last week, I stated respect and integrity as powerful words describe an equally powerful word, dignity. It is hope we can learn to practice what we preach. And I just want to remind everyone that city staff forward information from Mercy Housing to the city council and to the community at 6:14 p.m. for the meeting that started at 6 p.m. last Tuesday. And a lot of this information had been requested by city council for weeks. I thought council did an amazing job, and thank you, Vice Mayor Penrose and Councilmember Johnson, for recognizing literally just strolling through a phone trying to go through it last week, but thank you. And it was a lot of work to try and I felt these agreements to protect the city as best as we could. Again, I thought we did an amazing job to review the information during the meeting live to provide direction to the city attorney. And again, it was just to strengthen these agreements. Here we are trying to decide on a 99-year life, that let alone we don't even know 5 years from now what may or may not happen. But I have a couple of follow-up observations to make that I've been a part of in this 555 Kelly process. Last week, and just received yesterday, Mercy Housing explained one of the line items on the 15-year pro forma budget is a mandatory debt service payment to HCD, and that's the State of California Housing and Community Development, in the amount of $61,000, and it's regarding the $3.4 million California Serena Farm Worker Housing Program, and that is one of the funding sources to Mercy Housing for 555 Kelly. And I have tried, and I continue to try to understand how this mandatory payment to HCD can be made with other grant or other monies provided by state, federal, and local sources. So it's grant monies paying off a debt. So I was trying to understand all that, and I'll lead in why that's important. And then also, I'm trying to also understand if HCD has an interest in ensuring these payments are made to themselves, how did HCD decide to send a strong letter of support and technical assistance to the city? And how do they have with a clear conscience to do that in moving forward with this 555 Kelly? And it's after Mercy Housing had sent emails to HCD prior to our meeting on March 18th study session about these agreements. So I'm just trying to understand these relationships in the very misunderstood and confusing world of financing of affordable housing developments. I know others in the community have brought up, whether it's $1 per year or other the types of financing for this affordable housing project, how confusing it is, and as taxpayers, to try and understand that. And it's an opportunity because it's city land that we're talking about. Typically, if it's private land that the developer has either purchased or works with somebody else, we don't see a lot of these agreements or understand all this financing. So it was an opportunity for me to try and understand this process. And there's been a lot of talk recently about whether Half Moon Bay has a major transit stop or not. And similarly, I did see emails in 2024 between Mercy Housing and HCD again discussing creative interpretations to have a major transit stop for this project. And the major transit stop was important to receive the bonus density credits for height density and no parking. When city staff presented to the Planning Commission for the CDT approval and later for the denial of appeals by the City Council, use of on-demand transit and was utilized along with unidirectional bus stops for a major transit stop. So as I did last week, and I would ask again, would Mercy Housing provide directly towards the project all the credits that were given to the project for a major transit stop? Since clear Half Moon Bay does not have a major transit stop. For example, would Mercy Housing directly provide additional parking, remove a single floor, or provide shuttle service to their residents for timely service to various destinations? Again, this is only a request, and it's only by me. And finally, I've been accused of delaying this project, even though I have approved 2 amendments to an ENA agreement so Mercy Housing can continue to secure funding. And also due to my due diligence to best protect the city by reviewing these agreements and making sure comments have been in and asking all these difficult questions. On my own, I've checked the use of this land at this location with the current city zoning, and we had no bonus density credits. But we would have a city-zoned workforce housing overlay. That possible housing would be 10 units, and I would even give 2 cars per unit. That'd be a total of 20 cars, and you could keep it 3 stories height, and you would probably have a doable project. And Half Moon Bay is 10 units here, 15 units there, and they're integrated into our neighborhoods, is what I believe our land use general plan intended, and not try and segregate one demographic into one or none location. And yet here I am having to consider a possible no vote for these, the AHB, Affordable Housing Property Disposition Agreement, and the general lease and the other agreements this evening for a housing project because of the lack of respect and integrity to provide truly dignified housing at 555 Kelly. Thank you.
Robert, are you ready to go? You're muted, I think, Robert. Oops. Yeah, you're muted. I don't know if Maggie could unmute you. Still muted. There you go.
How's that?
Good.
Sorry, I don't know why. Kept hitting that button. Anyway, thank you. Well, thanks for everyone hanging in here for another long evening. I appreciate all the work of council, appreciate all the long work of staff over these years. We've asked a lot of them to provide a lot of information to provide over the last few years. Councilmember Johnson, I really appreciate the depth you took in explaining all the all the pieces that have gone into this and weighing all the factors. I especially like the point you made that, you know, in terms of how Half Moon Bay community works, it's sometimes, it's interesting. We always talk about how as a community we're here to have each other's backs. And we had that saying, you know, for a long time, show up and be kind here in Half Moon Bay. And you also pointed out that we're very often against projects before we're for them. And you mentioned some great examples. The library, remember the library? And I said, oh, it's too big, we don't need such a big building. And, you know, there's people even sitting on this council who are against the library initially. Then the library was built. And within months of the library being built, folks were saying, God, you know, we could have used actually some extra space, you know? It's so great to have meetings there, public meetings, and for kids to be able to go there after school. So it's kind of the nature of the community sometimes around change and being anxious about change. And the other projects you mentioned, Councilmember Johnson, were Stone Pine Cove, the Coast House homeless transition shelter, even Abundant Grace. People are very concerned, oh, you know, about safety. Safety was always coming up. And we even had oversight committees for Coast House and Stone Pine. And then once they were established and people realized, wow, these were really valuable services. And I also was, thought a lot about what you said, Councilmember Johnson, about not having a project like this set precedents around height. And, you know, the way I see it, and that's come up a lot on next door, for example. Wow, all these tall buildings are gonna start springing up like crazy. I think that's misinformation. That's not true. These, you don't get nonprofit affordable housing builders such as Mercy, Mid-Penn. You don't see those folks flowing in all of a sudden building these skyscrapers often. It's a long process. And they get their money from foundations, from grants, from loans, and they put together very creative packages. But, you know, after folks see what it takes to, like here, create a project like this, it's not like you're gonna have all these builders running in here to try and build these tall projects. And, you know, this project especially had value because most of the tenants there, you know, Mercy has a whole study of over 3,000 units of affordable senior housing. And per unit, the average cars per unit, or I think somewhere between, you know, 0.4 or 0.6 cars per unit. So most people here actually won't have cars. Why not? Because they can walk to the destinations that they need most. That's why it's located downtown. They can get medical services. They can walk to the grocery stores that they prefer. So it's a very unique project in that sense, and I understand those concerns. They always come up around affordable housing, you know, traffic, parking. But one of the real attractions of this particular location is a lot of the folks won't need a lot of public transportation. And we'll work out those issues, I think, for folks who do. So I think at the end of the day, it is a strength of a community to take care of folks. And this is a beautifully designed and dignified community for seniors, who in this case happen to be farm workers. And you know what? I think that's really good for business. Someone earlier said, hey, is this good? You know, this is just business. Yeah, this is good for business. People are attracted to living and coming to visit a community that has dignity, affordable housing for its members. So I have always been, from the very beginning, in support of the concept of this project, and I've really enjoyed what Councilmember Johnson has said. All the folks who've showed up, the people on council here who have spent long hours going through these lease agreements. I appreciate Mercy and staff patiently getting answers to the concerns raised. And I will be voting in favor of these lease agreements tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. I too am very grateful for all the turnout that we've had at all these meetings. You know, it is community, and it's a lot of time for us, but it's a lot of time for you, and you've stayed through very long meetings. I hear you and I see you. I'm going to have some remarks here, and I want you to bear with me because they're long remarks. So, the community of potential beneficiaries that supports this project, including farm workers and ALIS and its staff, along with spokespersons from regional housing advocates and faith-based groups, have overwhelmingly made themselves heard at numerous Planning Commission and City Council meetings. The question before us is not, should we build affordable housing, including housing for farm workers? The city has already made that commitment to build affordable housing, and I would draw your attention to the most recent completed project in Half Moon Bay, the 47-unit Stone Pine Cove development of manufactured homes for farm workers. This project had unanimous support from the City Council. To me, the question is, as posed at our last City Council meeting by resident Rick Hernandez, is, should our small town of 11,000 plus residents with limited financial capacity carry the risk of the complex affordable housing development that is 555 Kelly? I've spent many hours reviewing the documents before us tonight and asking numerous questions, trying to ascertain, one, whether the language is sufficiently clear and enforceable to protect the city's interests, and two, whether the financial data as presented is credible and sufficient to sustain operations for 100 years. I did not have all the documents that might have been helpful, as Mercy and city staff did not provide them until after last Tuesday's public hearing was in process. I've used some of this week to study these, but my understanding is no changes could be made in any case at this meeting. So my answers to my questions are no and no. The language, now, there have been improvements to the documents since we met, last Tuesday. I want to acknowledge that. But there's still a lot of vague language in these agreements, notably the definitions of agricultural worker, substantial income derived from the agricultural industry, senior, disabled or potentially disabled, retired. They are vague and open to multiple interpretations, and the finances are, in a word, outrageous. Take agricultural worker. Expectations have been set for this project that it is for farm workers. Read closely, though, and you could be almost anyone who has derived substantial income from work associated with agriculture. Bookkeepers, truckers, substantial itself isn't defined. What about retired? There's no definition except 55 years or older unless amended in the future. Vague language is a feature of these kinds of agreements. It's to allow investors and future mortgage holders freedom to maintain return on investment over the life of the project, in this case, 99 years. To understand this, you need some knowledge of low-income tax credits. Most of the funding for this project is expected to be in the form of these tax credits issued by the federal government to the states, which in turn award these on a competitive basis for affordable housing construction and rehabilitation projects. Once the tax credits are awarded, developers usually sell them to private investors and use the proceeds for most projects, excluding land acquisition. The price investors pay is less than the value of the tax credits, yielding a financial benefit for investors. Mercy is the corporate developer in the case of 555 Kelly, and they will also derive profit from the development of this project. But low-income housing tax credits, while the most significant funding source, is not the only one. There are multiple grants and loans identified as committed sources, as well as county funding, each source having its own requirements. Language in the documents also allows for future participation of mortgage lenders of various kinds and multiple mortgage lenders. This setup is needed for a reason. The project is intended for extremely low and very low renters, and Mercy or subsequent assignees as tenants of the property will need to guarantee the affordability levels for a minimum of 55 years. Unless they are able to get a waiver after 15 years. While the state of California makes it difficult to qualify for these waivers, it is not impossible. And looking at the affordability levels and finances, it seems to me that if any project is a candidate for a waiver, 555 Kelly might fit the bill based on the size of the rent subsidies alone that are required to make it work. Take the project cost plus the $12,539,881 15-year rent operations subsidy, totaling $56,339,811, divided by 15 years, you get $3,755,993 per year. Divide that by 12 months, you get $312,909 per month. Divide by 39 units, excluding the manager's unit, and you get $8,026 per month per unit subsidy. That's a lot to pay for a small studio apartment. That is outrageous. Who will pay the subsidy after 15 years? Mercy has stated they will not seek federal subsidies. Note the estimated construction cost of $43 million plus is old, not reflective of rising costs due to the Iran war and rising inflation. The question remains, is this the right model for our publicly owned land in our small city with limited financial capacity? Maybe on land Mercy owns, maybe in the larger cities on the peninsula, say Redwood City. But for Half Moon Bay, which will bear the brunt of unmitigated impacts, I say no. Now let's talk about how we got here, about the process that brought us to this point, from a 4-story, 40-studio project to a 5-story project with some studios, 1- and 2-bedroom units. Note that the draft ordinance mentions a 3-bedroom unit. Fortunately, we struck that language. From a project to retired farm workers, then retired and senior farm workers, and now in these documents, retired and senior persons with substantial experience in the agricultural industry, from on-site resident services to a potential regional farm worker resource center, which I understand now might not be in the menu. But from beginning to end, most of the conversations and decisions shaping this project happened outside of the view of the public, and in several instances without the formal authorization of the City Council. Notably, the decision to qualify on-demand transportation services as a major transit stop, allowing the project to receive a superdensity bonus, and other waivers. Without the superdensity bonus, the allowable project under our local coastal program would be 10 units and 3 stories, a scale appropriate to this site, I would say. The California legislature rejected adding on-demand services to existing legal definitions of a major transit stop in 2024. Yet prior legal counsel pressured our unsuspecting planning commission to allow it. After the commission rendered their approval of the project with a superdensity bonus, emails now in our possession reveal Mercy understood the problem posed by the use of the on-demand services and worked sub rosa with the Housing and Community Development Agency to craft another defense of the superdensity bonus. These emails also show Mercy concerned about the City Council putting the project on the ballot. As you know, the City Council, lacking full knowledge of state law and the background dealings just described, was subject to the same council direction and pressures to approve as the Planning Commission, voting 5-0 to approve the project, a project out of scale for our downtown and our small community, a project whose impacts have never been fully vetted because of state restrictions on processing superdensity bonus projects. To the City Council's and Planning Commission's credit, a policy has subsequently been adopted prohibiting the use of on-demand services as a major transit stop. We are all well aware of the bullying by state officials and the media blitz shaming the city and falsely blaming the city for project delays. And speaking of delays, much of the important information needed by the council to deliberate and render an informed decision was sent by email to council members after last Tuesday's public hearing was already in process. Let me sum up. The process has been full of bullying, shaming, subterfuge, false accusations, project applicant delays, and internal failure to manage for a better, more transparent and accountable process. It looks like a cram down. What is the appropriate antidote to this state of affairs? We have heard plenty from Mercy and the potential beneficiaries of the proposed project. Democracy and our deep tradition of resident engagement suggest to me the answer is to allow all of the voters of Half Moon Bay to weigh in at the ballot box. Examples of past major questions decided by voters include the following: Measures A and D, our growth management ordinances, Main Street Bridge preservation, keeping CAL FIRE on the coast side, Wave Crest redevelopment, the move to even-year local elections, and the Highway 1 tunnel. The entire matter of 555 Kelly could have been aired and decided by voters in November of 2024 if the city had not blocked a citizen's petition for referendum, a legally questionable response by then city officials, I'd add. And what about the farm workers who need and expect dignified housing out of this process? Mercy has said they will not apply for low-income housing tax credits they need until 2027 and has acknowledged they may have to go back multiple times to accrue the needed funding. After all, the process is competitive, the value of credits has decreased, inflation is increasing, and we do not yet know the full impact of the Iran war on the availability and cost of goods. Are we looking at 3 years, 5 years until project completion? More? That's a long way for a retired or senior farm worker. In the meantime, they remain in a state of precarity. I have heard from farm owners personally and at meetings of the County Ag Committee that they would like financial assistance to put farm worker housing on their properties. Recent events have revealed, through shocking circumstances like the mass shooting, that this can be problematic, to say the least. Habitability needs to be enforced. Nevertheless, I don't think we should wait. The project could take a few years. I would recommend the county consider using current funds on hand to augment their $2 million 2025 pledge for better housing on farms now. Senior agricultural workers who are not retired will still need to drive or share rides to the farms, most of which are in the county. Perhaps the county could provide an amount equal to the first 5 years of the rent subsidies for 555 Kelly for immediate use on the farms. That would be $3,507,165, or including the $2 million would be $5,507,165. This would be helpful to farmers and farm workers in the near term while the project develops. And the Stone Pine Cove project offers a dignified model that could be implemented quickly. We did it in just a couple of years. Maybe the city would want to lend a hand. It is painful to me to be at this place tonight, but as I was elected to serve Half Moon Bay residents as a trustee and a steward, I believe there is only one prudent and accountable decision I have the discretion to make tonight. I've laid out my rationale for you. I will vote no on this ordinance tonight. I will honor the voters' decision whichever way they come down if the project makes it to the ballot. So is somebody ready to make a motion here?
We need to put the motion up.
That would be good.
I'll make the motion. I move that we waive the second reading and adopt an ordinance of the City of Half Moon Bay approving the Affordable Housing and Property Disposition Agreement, ground lease of real property for a term of 99 years, memorandum of ground lease, affordable housing regulatory agreement, and declaration a restrictive covenant, and other ancillary agreements between the City of Half Moon Bay and Mercy Housing for the senior affordable 40-unit residential project for agricultural workers located at 535 and 555 Kelly Avenue, and including 2,653 square feet of community serving space, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreements and take other actions necessary to implement the foregoing agreements and finding the approval of the agreements and related actions exempt from review under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15332. And are we doing also now the second resolution?
Do you recommend, Council, that we take one of these at a time?
One at a time. Let's do one
One at a time.
That's what I thought. Okay, just wanted to check that. So
I'll second
is
the
there a
motion.
second on this?
Okay. Could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast.
No.
Vice Mayor Penrose.
Yes.
Mayor Reddick.
No.
Motion carries.
Would you like me to make a motion for the second item? Bring it up again. I move that we adopt a resolution approving a grant agreement between the City of Half Moon Bay and Mercy Housing California for $2 million in funding procured in fiscal year 2023 by Senator Josh Becker, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement and finding approval of the grant agreement, exempt from review under the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section 15332.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brownstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast.
No.
Vice Mayor Penrose.
Yes.
Mayor Reddick.
No.
Motion carries.
Motion carries 3-2. Okay, so what's the disposition of the rest of the agenda? It's 11 o'clock.
Yeah. The items that remain on the agenda could be carried forward to another meeting. The urgency isn't there. The CIP, we had hoped to get done tonight, but the process still allows us to continue to move it forward and bring it back as part of the budget.
I think everybody would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Council, do we need to take any specific motion to continue these items, or?
Yeah, so you can make a motion to continue all the items in one motion. I would suggest we take public comment before, though, just on the issue to continue, and then we can proceed with that motion.
Should we make the motion first?
It's up to you.
I'll take public comment. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the continuation of the remaining items on tonight's agenda? Seeing nobody in the room, is there anybody online? Seeing none, we can entertain a motion to continue.
And it's item 11B, C, 11C, 11D, and 11E. That would be
11B through 11E.
Yes.
So moved.
So moved.
Second? Can I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Nagengast.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penrose.
Yes.
Mayor Reddick.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'd like to, if we could just, did we continue the item of future agenda items? Because I'd like to just mention something. So I'd like us to bring back a policy that says that no documents for a city council meeting may be distributed any later than 3 p.m. on the afternoon of the meeting, to avoid the situation that we had last week. If documents are complete and distributed to the council for consideration by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting, that agenda item will not occur.
Madam Mayor, can I make a comment? I'd like to add in that council members are texted prior to that you've been dumped on. And so that, because I'm working during the day and I'm on all day long, that way I would know to go to the laptop and take a look.
Need to.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Robert.